Gotham Guardians and Arkham Adversaries. It is your boy Trey of the Bat Channel, and we are back live once again after too many months. I'm so sorry, guys. It's ironic that it's Godzilla Day, and that would be the show that we come back on, simply because my laptop that I've done all my video editing, you guys have heard me talk about this on some of our reaction videos lately, laptop literally turned into a burning Godzilla at one point. I ran that thing to the atomic ground. It was just not going to survive any longer. So I was like, it's probably a good indication of someone trying to say, hey man, you probably should get something a little more powerful, get some Mothra support up in there, get that next level up. So we did that. We got the next best thing. And now we're back doing all of our shows again. So guys, it is an exciting time, as we say, to be a Godzilla fan. There's so much going on. It was like hard to keep up today. It really was. I was like seeing all these posts coming up on Twitter, and I was like, please slow down. Like, I'm at work and I can't even like enjoy and celebrate, which is why we're doing a celebration stream with all of our fellow Kaiju fans. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and bring out the best co-host I could ever ask for. Super Bro Corey. How's it going, big fella?
What is up, brother? Happy Godzilla Day!
My man, how you been?
Man, I'm just feeling very roar-tastic, I guess.
Did you say roar-tastic?
I did say roar-tastic. No, nothing? Maybe a little bit?
Cheesy.
Okay.
But I do like your background, good sir.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's Gojira. Gojira.
The best of the MonsterVerse franchise, in my opinion. Godzilla.
Really?
I feel like if you're a Godzilla fan, King of the Monsters was the most classic Godzilla.
Damn. I'm not even a big, like Godzilla fan, and I picked the right one, Trey. Is that what you're telling me?
That's what I'm telling you.
Is that what you're telling me? I just have good taste in Godzillas, and I'm a newbie to the Godzilla world. Yet I appreciate the finer wines already from the start. Is that what you're telling me, Troy?
I mean, you might be onto something. You might be. Just a little bit.
Okay.
Look, guys, it is so exciting. Corey, can you believe the big G man turns 69 today?
Hi, he's 69 today?
He's 69
Very nice. Very nice.
He's an old boy. He's an old, dirty boy. It's the best year to grow, And you know what? 69?
And he's about to come out with minus one. My man.
He's about to come out with a lot. There's a lot in there. He's just giving to all the Kaiju fans this year. What's up, Deadpool? Corey, I say first off, let's go through all the pleasantries that we do, all the YouTube stuff, guys. We have to do this every time, practically. First off, it is wonderful to see you all. Yes, the title of the show, what a time to be a Godzilla fan. We're going to be talking about all the craziness of Godzilla this year and next year. There's so much coming out. It's like when you think about it as a Godzilla fan after 69 years, right? Like I haven't been around that long. I've just been a fan for, I don't know, almost 30 of those years, but to think about the time we're living in as a Godzilla fan, it's kind of crazy. There's so much content coming out, and it's like, I remember when it wasn't cool to be a Godzilla fan, like everyone kind of looked at you funny, like, oh, like you're one of those. You're that one guy in the corner of Blockbuster, like picking out the Godzilla.
In front of you the entire time.
Thanks, Corey. And now it's like everyone is like on this Godzilla hype train. And you know what? Old, current, new fans, we welcome you. Join us on this MonsterVerse journey with our Monarch Monstars.
New fan reporting in. Let's go.
What's up, Ralph? So, guys, if you're new to the channel, you can follow us on our many social media pages like TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads if you're on there. I still haven't figured out the purpose of it yet, other than it's basically Instagram or Facebook, which is owned by the same people. I don't know. I don't get it. We're on there at _Bat Channel. Hit us up. We post a lot of, keeping you up to date with the shows that we're doing, but also sometimes we post about just like fun, like questionnaire stuff, like, hey, chat with us, talk with us. We want to hear from you. It's just a great way. If you're on Facebook still, at Holy Bat Channel, because some jerk stole our name. Punk. At Holy Bat Channel, you can find us there. Discord is coming soon. I've almost finished with it. So guys, hit us up. And as always, you know that you can help out our channel so much. When you smash that like, share this video, subscribe, get all of your friends into the chat. We want to talk with all of our Godzilla fans. So when you tweet, Facebook posts, Instagram, any of that, hashtag Godzilla, hashtag Godzilla Day, hashtag Godzilla Minus One. Get all of your Kaiju fans up in here so we can hear from you guys, because we want to feel the pull of what's going on. What's your thought process about all this great Godzilla content? It's there. Let's do it. Help us get to 10,000. We're not worried about 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. 10,000 is where it's at. That's our goal. It's a big goal. But I think we could hit 3,000 by the end of the year. But we can't do that without you guys. So help us out. Help us grow our hashtag battalion. You guys already know it's going to be a damn good show today. Now, Corey, I think our next thing we're going to talk about real quick, if you didn't know, obviously, if you're a Godzilla fan, you're probably a sci-fi fan. The new Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes trailer came out, a teaser trailer, and boy, was it good. I was excited. You would have to check out the reaction video because I was pleasantly surprised. Like the trilogy that recently came out, it was solid, good stuff. I'm excited for this movie. I didn't expect them to come out Memorial Day weekend next year. I thought it was going to be pushed back with all the strikes that are going on. Nope. Get ready for some more Planet of the Apes. And it's looking good. It's going to be a good time. So check it out. Check out our reaction video. We have more great content coming your way. Now, Corey, it's Godzilla Day. Please never do that again.
You didn't like that? I thought it was good. I was like, that's some quality awesomeness right there, buddy.
Yep.
Man, we got a lot of people in the chat right now, Trey.
We got a lot of people in the chat. Before we do that, though, Corey, I feel like we gotta bring out our Monarch Monstars up in here. Our people on the panel. Monsters? Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Guys, you've seen some of these people before on our show. They're going to be around a lot more, especially with some of the Godzilla content that is coming out. We're going to be doing kind of like what we do with Delta Squad, with reviewing Star Wars ships. I know we kind of dropped the ball a little bit with Ahsoka because of technical difficulties that happened, but we're going to be doing the same thing with Godzilla Monarch, Legacy of the Monsters. You know, it's going to be a fun time. So without further ado, our panel today, Orc and Beans 14 and good old Retro Nerd Girl. How's it going, guys?
Oh, hi.
Hey.
What? I can't believe it, you guys. It's been so long since I've seen you guys.
It's good to see Orc. We got, it's everyone. We're back in the club, and I love it.
Yay!
How's everyone doing?
Fantastic. Happy that it's Godzilla Day.
Right? It's an exciting time. See, this is a good thing because, guys, I feel like we have a good panel tonight. First off, you guys are amazing as always, but you got me and Orc, who are pretty well versed in the Godzilla realm of things, in the Kaiju sense. And then you got Retro and Super Bro, who are kind of new to it.
Well, I know all things Godzilla. We probably, me and Retro probably know more about Godzilla than you guys. We're going to be your expert, speller of commentary here today. So, yes, if you want to know the real facts, people, it comes from us.
I completely agree.
So, Retro, come on.
Truth be told, I know very little about Godzilla, but it is on my list of things to explore. And so I have a pad over here and pen, and I'll be writing down some titles.
Dang, Retro.
Yeah, I'm taking notes. Class is in.
Well, we're going to take you on a little educational tour
of
all great things throughout the 69 years that Godzilla has been around, just kicking ass and destroying Tokyo. The amount of money Tokyo probably has to go through every year to rebuild Tokyo.
I know. Every year.
And we're going to build it back better, I guess.
Just build it back.
And honestly, if they would have just figured out their pollution issue, he probably wouldn't have came 10 of those times.
or just use a different energy source than nuclear,
Godzilla is an environmentalist, and they never picked up on that.
That's the root of his problem. You know, he's just
Oh.
like, go to solar. You know, what are you guys doing? Go to hydro.
Do you think is that the underlying message about Godzilla? Is the environmental?
A lot of the movies are about either the environment or why we shouldn't use nukes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because
I would one of the monsters is literally a pollution monster.
yeah,
I would say maybe
What's his name? I like him.
Fedora.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the movies are we should be fixing our pollution or we shouldn't be using nukes.
Mm.
Yeah, it is.
Let's make
one
a
of the
bigger
things, like some of the criticisms that the MonsterVerse has gotten is that a lot of people say it's kind of pro-nuclear because they draw their energy source from nuclear, and that type of radiation. So I can see where people are upset with the MonsterVerse by that, but like, yes, the 1954 Godzilla. I mean, that's how he was created, right? Like, the nuclear bomb goes off and it creates a terrible monster that wreaks havoc and kind of punishes mankind, for creating something so awful. And that's kind of been the source, the root of Godzilla. And I believe what Godzilla Minus One is getting back to a little bit.
Okay.
Shin Godzilla did a really good job of keeping that kind of essence of it. And I think Godzilla Minus One, with it taking place shortly after World War II, they're kind of really going to hit on that a little bit more.
So no Komodo dragons and Godzilla Minus One?
You mean like an iguana, Corey, just walking around?
And they have like a little miniature set.
Well, it's how it is. But so, guys, for Orc and Beans, I think you've seen all the Godzilla films, right?
Yes. So my hobby is getting hobbies. And so I decided that I wanted to watch all of the Godzilla and King Kong movies in order of when they were released. And so I found two awesome websites that I just kept saved in some notes, and I just went down the list. Thankfully, a lot of the early Godzilla movies were an hour and a half, or they were on HBO Max. I know you guys don't like HBO, but so that was really convenient. And I wanted to make sure that I finished all of the movies before Minus One came out, and I did. And I was very excited and happy about that.
Good for you, man. That's exciting. How long did it take you to get through? It's almost like 38 films, 39. But you also did the series.
No, so I didn't do any of the TV shows, and I didn't do any of the animated movies. I just did the live action movies. But with King Kong, it's like 38 films or something like that. It took me a couple of months. I took a kind of a break because I had kind of just overdosed in monsters and stuff like that. But it was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. Would recommend anyone to do it, to watch through.
I'll probably be doing it.
Yeah, we should create a list, Trey, and publish it for us newer Godzilla fans.
I still have the links, and the links that I used, it just takes you to a website or whatever, but it would give you like a brief description of like what the movie was, and it broke them up into each era. It broke it up by Japanese release, American release, and stuff like that. Because, sometimes, specifically like the first Godzilla versus King Kong, Japan and America's release were slightly different, and they came out 2 different years.
Yeah.
And so I would only watch the Japanese release, not the American version, because I didn't want to watch the same movie just without a few extra scenes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I tried to watch them subbed as much as I could, because sometimes the dubbed versions were ridiculously stupid. They sounded so silly.
Oh,
it's so funny you actually bring that up, or because Corey, can you go to our next slide real quick? The next one. It's the Fathom. There you go. The Fathom events. So if you guys didn't know, Fathom Events, which is a company actually here in Colorado, that puts on movies, like old movies. Well, old, and I mean like movies that have already been released in theaters, and they kind of bring them back in theaters for a day. And sometimes they do other things like marching band shows, musicals, so they do a whole wide range of like re-releasing films in theaters, especially when content is a little bit like down and they need to find reasons to bring people back to the cinemas, right? To celebrate Godzilla Day, they brought back Godzilla 2000, which I remember seeing this in theaters, and that was the one I saw, almost 23 years ago, was the American version of it. And when I sat in the theater this round, I was thinking like, oh, it's just going to be, the old American version that I have on Vudu that I watch all the time. And the movie started playing. And I was like, something doesn't sound right. Like the sound effects and the music isn't quite the same. I was like, this is weird. And then they started talking in Japanese. And I was like, oh my God, I'm getting a completely different version. This is like seeing the movie for the first time again. Like, this is a great experience. And I'm so glad I did, because I realized something. For some reason, the American dubs always like depict Japanese culture, like people, just as silly, which is it's messed up in a way. But not only that, like Americans clearly just like oomph and like some bass to their sound effects and to their music. So I realized like Godzilla 2000 Japanese is kind of like very dramatic, very orchestral. And then here you got the American version of Godzilla 2000. They're like blasted music. They got the Godzilla 1998 roar from Zilla. And I was kind of like, this is a weird new experience. So, but it was really fun. I enjoyed it. I loved watching and seeing the different, scenes compared to both, because the Japanese version did have some added scenes, nothing extra, like too much, like maybe an extra 3 minutes of extended scenes, but nothing too crazy. But it did explain Ogra a little better, some of the villains and their motives. So it was very fun to watch the Japanese version over the American version that I'm used to. But to kind of get your guys' thoughts, retro, what have you seen of Godzilla?
I've seen some of the older ones, but I was a kid when I saw those, so it's been a long time. I've seen the Mothra one. I think, isn't that the one with the two girls?
Yes, the twins. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen that one, and a couple others. I did see that movie with I think it was in the early aughts that it came out, or maybe it was just around 1999, where they were in the subway station and there were there were little baby Godzillas. And
oh yeah, the
which one was that one?
Broadwick.
Yeah.
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 It just celebrated its 25th anniversary recently, and it's a lot of people hate that film. Yeah, see, I knew Corey was going to play it. A lot of people, Godzilla fans, hate that film, but you kind of realize even it's very different, obviously, from what we've typically seen of Godzilla. But I feel like it's gained a little bit of nostalgic love because it kind of introduced Godzilla to a lot of new fans. So it's kind of gathered a little bit of a love following. And even us rewatching it again, we were kind of like, oh man, this kind of, I remember being 5 years old watching this movie and being like, oh, this is so cool. It is what it is, but that's cool. So what else did you see? So you saw Zilla, the 1998.
I may have seen some other older ones. I just don't remember all of them because it was usually on the weekend, and it was like something to kind of fill time, and I enjoyed them. I laughed a lot. It was more like looking at all of the miniatures, which I love. I love miniatures to no end, and seeing the guy in the suit break up those miniatures. A lot of fun. And just people saying Godzilla.
Oh no, Godzilla.
Yeah, and the mouth's not matching up and things like that. So it's very fun to see those. But I think the ones that I've watched have all been dubbed. So it'd be actually kind of cool to see the original with subtitles because you always get like pure performances and see how seriously the actors are taking it. Whereas the dub, it can really come off really, really comedic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in like Godzilla 2000, the American version, the little girl's like so mean to the reporter lady. She like calls her imbecile and just like, you really are an imbecile. And like in the Japanese version, she's not as mean. She's kind of just like, be better, like says it's just not as rough. And you could see like, and I get sometimes they try to do their best to like match the syllables that are being mouthed, to see what's going on. Sometimes it doesn't work out at all, but we definitely, the English dubs make it comedic.
Yeah, really very funny.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to kind of see as you start to get more into Godzilla, and especially like we've talked about, it's a good time to be a Godzilla fan because there's just so much coming out. And I think, and we'll talk about this, we'll go in some depth with it a little bit better, but I think the MonsterVerse and just the Godzilla IP in general is doing something better than even what Marvel has done, than like what DC lately has done.
Oh man,
blasphemy!
Shots fired.
Shots fired. I know, and I'll explain my reasoning of why I think Godzilla, like just Toho and Legendary, they seem to have the right mindset of fleshing out,
I see where you're coming from.
Universe.
Yeah, the care behind keeping the characters what they're supposed to be. Yeah,
exactly. But also having different takes with it, like Toho's still doing their own thing, Legendary's doing their thing, some other IPs are doing, like Disney's getting Kong, which I'm sure they're going to ruin, but I think just in general, the Godzilla, I think they're taking their time to like quality over quantity. Even though like some of in my opinion, the MonsterVerse hasn't been perfect in any way, but I think they've done a good job of respecting the older audience and bringing in the new generation of fans, to make Godzilla last another 69 years. Super Bro Corey, my man, how you doing? I know you're going to go down the list to welcome everyone in the chat, but how you doing?
I'm doing okay, Trey. I'm completely lost right now, but yes, doing good.
Where's Waldo?
Right?
Have you watched any of the movies, Corey?
I have.
He's been forced.
I was gonna say, I feel like Trey would have dragged you to a few.
So my list of Godzilla movies are like, I come home and Trey is a young little boy sitting on the couch watching Godzilla movies in his underwear.
Aww.
And I'll sit down with him for a little bit. Whitey tighties, might I add you?
I never wore whitey tighties.
Really? Nah. But so I'd come home and he'd be watching it, he'd be loving it and everything like that. And I'm like, what is going on here? I didn't have interest back then. So I've seen probably scenes and takes from a lot of different Godzilla movies. But Godzilla movies that I've watched probably from start to finish is obviously the Zilla one, because we saw the Zilla one for, what was that, for your birthday, Trey? Did we go see Zilla for your birthday or around that time?
You're talking about the 1998 movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw a lot of I believe the 1998 one came out on my birthday. Yep. And then, if I recall, I think we saw Godzilla 2000 near my birthday as well. And King of the Monsters we definitely saw on my birthday.
Yeah, so Godzilla, so really my experience with Godzilla is Godzilla 98, 97, Zilla. We have Godzilla 2000, King of the Monsters Godzilla, and Godzilla vs. Kong, and Kong whipped up on that Godzilla butt. But yeah, no, I very very new to the Godzilla world. But I tell you what, seeing the trailers for Godzilla Minus One, that those trailers alone have got me excited about Godzilla for the first time ever. Like really seeing those trailers, I want to catch up on all of it now. Like so, we dropped in the chat somewhere the link that Cody mentioned. So I'll be definitely checking out that Collider article to get caught up as well.
Yeah.
Does anybody know how many movies, Godzilla movies there's been?
There has been like 38.
38. Let me write that down.
And soon to be more.
It's the first movie is in 1954, and there's a pretty long period where 1964 has 2 of them, and then there's a very very long period of time where every year there's a Godzilla movie.
Yeah, especially in the 90s Heisei era, like they really started cranking those out.
Yeah.
For really like the next almost 20 years, they like from 1985 to like 2004, they really started cranking out Godzilla films in Toho, and then they made the deal with TriStar, Sony, to like make their Godzilla, and then they helped produce things. Godzilla, when you think about it, in terms of like a franchise, there's no surprise of why it has been a staple in our pop culture history. Is just there's so many films, and in fact, I think, is there anything that beats Godzilla? Like James Bond, I don't think even has 38 films.
No,
I don't know.
Right.
This is I looked it up and it's saying 29, and that is just not true.
No, they must not be counting. It must be like just Toho or something that they're counting
Maybe.
and stuff. But interesting. Jesus.
Confirmed.
So
He
Corey,
fights a lobster at one point. What else do you need from a movie?
Corey, let's go ahead and I'm sorry, chat. I know it's been a while since we've reached out to you guys and talked. Who's all here tonight, Corey? I feel like
we have a lot of people filing in, trying to keep track of where Godzilla is. We have Brogu in the chat. Hashtag restore the Snyderverse guy. Bat Fanatic, Joker's Wild, Kaiju, Crazy, Craig Rowland, Wayne Enterprises, Beyond the Night. We have Oracle's Clock Tower in there.
What's up, Oracle?
The Batman Who Laughs, 9 Lives in Hell here. Carrie Kelly, King Donkey Kong.
King Donkey Kong, you're new. I've been seeing your comments lately, bro, and it's good to meet you finally. Hope you're doing well.
We have Red Hooded Outlaw, Trevor H, Thox Bulletins, Bat Fanatic, Joker's Wild, The Emancipator. I think I said the Butler. Have I said the Batman Who Laughs? We have Ralph Preedy and Gianmarco Zampella. We had some other ones that I just saw come in. The Dragon Trainer 300, Super Bat Mom, Bat Dad or Dadpool. I think, man, they're just coming in. We got TJ in the house as well. What's up, TJ?
Good to see you, brother.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he's just glad to be here. Yeah, so yeah, we got a lot of people filing in, trying to monitor the Godzilla situation today.
Well, guys, it is so good to see some familiar faces, some newer faces. The Dragon Trainer 300 says, how often do you guys do a live podcast? When we were up and running, like, a couple months ago, like every week. It was just simply we weren't streaming a lot because my computer broke and it was waiting to get it back and running and putting everything back together. I kind of had to retrain myself because I was used to a laptop, and then I had an actual like studio computer, and it took some adjustments to get used to it. But we're backing up and running, and probably going to be doing a ton of shows again. So yeah,
all the Godzilla content.
Oh, yes, definitely. Godzilla content, especially. We are going to go crazy. Especially
Godzilla watch parties.
You should.
Yeah.
Yes.
We could do some Godzilla watch parties. It'll force us to do some Max, Corey, but on some, I do own it. I mean, obviously, I have the Godzilla Showa
You
era
haven't
collection.
you haven't bought them all on Vudu yet?
They're not all available on Vudu. I've tried, believe me.
There's
Welcome, Kaiju Crazy Craig rolling, by the way. He said he's newer as well, and the Dragon Trainer 300. And
yeah,
Ralph
Dragon
Priest,
Trainer. Ralph, good to see you, buddy.
I
Hope
put this
doing
in the
well.
chat earlier, but if for people that are struggling to find some of the Godzilla movies, because some of them are very hard, there is a chef's kiss of a website called Internet Archive.
Yep. Oh yeah. You can find-
Beautiful
Oh,
people.
okay.
It's usually you just type in whichever Godzilla movie you want, full movie. Internet Archive usually has it. You can donate to them because it's free to watch the movie. That was the other plus of them. But I would say, especially once I got past the Max movies, because Max has a lot of the earlier films.
Yeah, a lot of the Showa.
And then the newer ones. But that middle area, Internet Archive came in so clutch.
So I have to ask you because there's two Godzilla films I've been searching for. One, I can actually say thank you to my boy Lord Kojay for getting to me because I've been searching for it everywhere. Godzilla 1985, or The Return of Godzilla, some people call it. He was able to get me a copy of it. But did they have Godzilla versus Biollante?
Oh yeah, they did.
I've only seen that movie twice, back when Blockbuster was a thing, and my mom let me grab a couple of the VHS tapes to watch them. And my memory tells me Godzilla Biollante was one of the best Godzilla films of the Heisei era.
It's weird. Like he uses some of his dead daughters, like
Yeah, there is that
DNA
kind of
with
element to it.
I just put it in the private chat for you so you can watch it. That movie's all right. I like it. That one, I'll just read its little description because I had the thing up. Godzilla vs. Biollante continues the storyline of the Heisei era with Godzilla trapped inside a volcano after the events of the previous movie. A scientist experimenting with Godzilla's DNA accidentally creates a monstrous plant-like creature called Biollante, which also contains the DNA of the scientist's dead daughter. Biollante is one of Godzilla's most memorable opponents. The creature design is grotesque, and the concept of the monster's creation is effectively unsettling. The installment is also notable for a featuring a shift in the franchise's anti-nuclear message to focus on the emerging field of biotechnology and genetic engineering. With Godzilla again saving a less of an antagonist and more of a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked scientific discovery. The movie also features the first appearance of the psychic Mickey, who telepathically links to Godzilla, will play a part in the rest of the films of the Heisei era.
Okay, yeah, and I think if I recall, at the end, it like whatever happens leads to Space Godzilla.
Yeah, because like it has something to do with Biolante's like DNA, which also has Godzilla's DNA, goes up into space, and it then creates Space Godzilla, which has a very cool design because he's got these like giant like crystals on his back.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the Heisei era, I see what Marco says, but I agree. It's probably like when you think about the Heisei era, the 90s, especially for the Toho Godzilla films, are some of the best. Like Godzilla versus Destroyer.
Greatest movie. Not just because it came out the year I was born, but it is the best Godzilla movie besides the original. Trey and I actually a couple of months ago were texting each other about like our top 5, and we both had Godzilla 1954 as the best movie because it's the OG, and it's still pretty. I just watched it on the plane the other day. But for me, Destroyer is the second best Godzilla movie because I feel like Destroyer is the best scary looking enemy that Godzilla faces, and he has like 2 phases. In that final phase, he just looks terrifying, and it's very much like if there was a monster that could defeat Godzilla, it could be Destroyer.
Actually, could we kind of jump into that a little bit, Trey?
Sure.
Now, like So being a new Godzilla fan, trying to get into the Godzilla world, the Kaiju world, I was kind of wondering by our Gojira experts, what are your top 3 movies that Retro and I should watch tomorrow?
Great question.
Obviously, we need to see them all, but we'll have you go back and forth, or however you want to do it. We'll start with York, and then
should we also try to Orc and I should try to pick different ones? Because I think him and I are both going to say probably.
Let's do a draft. Let's do a draft, okay? We'll do a randomized draft pick, and
okay.
I'm going to
flip a coin, Corey. Who goes first? Because
right.
I think both of us are going to say
the
first movie.
Yeah. Heads or tails?
If there's overlap, please let us know, because then we'll know.
Heads for Cody. I got my list.
Tails never fails, baby. Tails never fails.
Never fails.
Yes, sir. All right. So, okay, you're saying heads? We'll bring out the coin here. The official coin. That's heads. That's tails. Ooh. Tails wins.
Tails.
So,
okay.
Trey, you get to go first in today's Godzilla draft.
Godzilla original.
1954. Best
1954.
movie.
You can't.
So Trey is going number one draft pick. You're going Godzilla 1984.
54.
54. Okay.
First movie.
Godzilla 1954. And why are we going Godzilla 1954?
I mean, it's the original. I mean, when you think
good.
about what the motive was behind that movie, what they were able to achieve on a technical level, there's just so many beautiful things about that movie, and except
for the weird love triangle.
The weird love triangle is a bit of creating a little human drama to it, but it's who Godzilla is, and if you want to understand and take Godzilla, when you think about it, a dude in a suit running around destroying the city, it's not a very serious thing. It's kind of silly, right? Especially back then, they probably thought it was silly. What sells it is the history behind it. The fact that Japan took the tragedy of the atomic bombs and turned it into this thing and it's kind of a weird narrative, in story that they tell, because
so this was a direct response to that.
Yes, we created, the US created the atomic bomb, right? But yet here Godzilla is punishing them for their crimes, for their sins, punishing their, he's the force of nature, saying what you guys did that forced this nuclear bomb to happen, and that created me, this creature. And I loved what Toho has built upon this in future films like Shin Godzilla, but they've really just it's a wonderful dialogue of what really happened and trying to kind of create, trying to find healing through art. And that's what Godzilla 1954 is, for Japan. It's an incredible film.
Nice.
So good.
I think we need a do-do-do. Pork and Beans, you are live. Your pick is going live now.
I just talked about Destroya. That is my pick. Destroya is my pick. It's the 1995 Godzilla versus Destroya. And let me just read to you, and it's perfect to be second place compared to Trey's, because Trey's, the 1954, that is the creation of Godzilla. My movie ends with Godzilla blowing up.
Wow.
So I'll read the description here.
Spoilers.
Sorry, everyone. The movie came out 30 years ago. The final film of the Heisei era pits a dying Godzilla against a swarm of mutant crabs called Destroya. Godzilla vs. Destroya introduces an interesting element to the franchise, revealing that Godzilla's heart operates like a nuclear reactor, and that, as such, it will eventually melt down. The planet is saved from the cataclysm blast when baby Godzilla, it's the only flaw in this movie, named Godzilla Jr., absorbs all of the energy from his father's exploding corpse to become the new Godzilla. It's such a amazing movie because, like I said earlier, Destroya kind of goes through these like different phases, and you know, I always think of like Dragon Ball Z where Cell's like, this isn't my final form, and he transforms. Destroya goes through that process throughout the movie. But then there's also this dilemma that the humans are having, that Godzilla is going to blow up and destroy at least Tokyo, but really good chance the entire world if he blows up. So not only are they trying to help Godzilla defeat Destroya, but they're also trying to figure out a way to cool him down so he doesn't blow up. So it adds this like pace to the movie, I feel like, and tension, in the sense of like there's a time limit here, and they talk about it a lot. They're like, all right, we could all be dead in the next 3 minutes, and it's not because we got stomped on by Godzilla. So it creates this like extra element of danger to the movie that just makes it very suspenseful. And like I said, Destroya has one of the coolest final form images that I've ever seen in any of the Godzilla movies. So that is why it's my number one pick, other than the 54.
All right.
Destroya.
Good. All right. That sounds good. Trey, you are on the clock.
I could go. So Cody definitely took one that I would easily say, Godzilla versus Destroyer. It's like, it's phenomenal. And I think I read someone, I think it was the Butler, who said the beginning is like Aliens, and that is so true. It has kind of a bit of that terrifying element to it, and it's like, it's very interesting. When you like watch that movie, it's kind of like, it's very different for a Godzilla film, because generally they kind of are silly, especially, you know, the 60s, the 70s were kind of a sillier time for Godzilla, where they depicted him as the hero. And Godzilla Destroyer, it's terrifying. It's fantastic. With that being said, like, now that I have to pick a different film as a second place, I could pick many in this position. But I'm going to throw people off just a little bit. And I'm going to say, and I know this is going to give me some flack, I think Godzilla King of the Monsters, the 2019 film.
Oh, that was somebody else's pick in the chat.
Yeah. To me, it was a true love letter to Godzilla fans. Michael Dougherty, who directed it, wrote the film, you could tell he was a huge, huge Godzilla fan. So he literally like when you watch that movie, you could say there's really nothing different. Like, if you're a Godzilla fan, there's really nothing new that he brought to it, other than Godzilla looks incredible. The CGI is awesome. And you got Bear McCreary bringing back the Akira Ifukube score. You know, it's just great technology. And it's like, as a Godzilla fan, it was just like, thank you for giving us this back, you know? And I love it for that very reason. They do some really cool things in terms of, I mean, it's, you know what it is? It's a Godzilla ego trip. They just followed everything to a T. It was fantastic. Love it. I love that movie still. I will defend that movie to my dying breath.
What year was that one?
2019, I think, if I recall.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the one during the pandemic.
Right before Godzilla versus Kong was kind of towards the end of the pandemic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I'm mixing up the two.
Godzilla versus Kong, in my opinion, hopefully I'm not offending anyone right now, that one's the last place film for me in the Monsterverse, easily. And
Really?
it's sad because the action in that movie, I won't deny, the action in Godzilla versus Kong, absolutely beautiful. It's a stunning film. Visually, it's one of the coolest Godzilla films we have ever seen. The story, complete utter trash, in my opinion. Like, they dropped the ball so hard that it's like, there's something that happens in Godzilla King of the Monsters 2019, that they have a character who's directly related to one of the characters in it, and he's fighting against Godzilla. and it makes no sense. They never address it. All you know is that his last name is the same as his dad's, and that he's the son, which they never even address. It's really, if you looked on the back end and did your research, you would only find that out if you researched it to say that character's the son of this character. Why is he fighting Godzilla? They never brought it up, and they killed him off in that movie. And I was like, that's why I hate Godzilla versus Kong so much, is that there was so much they could have done. And it was kind of like, well, people are only here just to see monsters fight, so screw the story. And that pissed me off. I was so pissed off with that movie. Other than Godzilla whooped King Kong's ass, so suck it, Corey.
All right. That would put us, unless you have any questions, Retro, about that?
Oh no, I'm writing down all kinds of things.
All right, 4th round draft pick. Orc, you are on the clock.
This is gonna be a surprising pick. I am picking King Kong versus Godzilla, but the 1962 version.
Nice.
So the 1962 version of King Kong versus Godzilla, I feel like, is an important moment in the MonsterVerse universe because we haven't seen King Kong since 1933, and we haven't seen Godzilla since 1955. And we are now pitting two of these gigantic, when you think of Godzilla and King Kong, like they're ingrained in our culture, basically. Like everybody knows King Kong and everybody knows Godzilla. And this is the first time that we have seen these two go toe to toe. And it's the first time that we've seen either of these guys in a very long time. And so it's just this, I think it's just a really important movie in the history of the MonsterVerse because it's so, holy crap, we're doing this kind of moment. And sadly, they kind of shit the bed in the latest version of it. But in this version, it's just such a, I wish I could have been there in the theater in 1962 being like, holy crap, I'm getting to see this.
Aw.
For the first, like this, it's a pin in the universe. It's a pin in the timeline. It's a moment that should be recognized as how important it was to the MonsterVerse, because after that movie, we just get bombarded with Godzilla movies over the next like 20, 30 years after this movie. It really is like, I think it's the movie that kickstarts this whole franchise, because I feel like without that movie, because like I said, we hadn't seen Godzilla since 55 and we hadn't seen King Kong since 1933. After that movie, we're getting all of these Godzilla movies after it, and I don't think it happens if Godzilla versus King Kong 1962 doesn't happen.
I agree. No, the importance of King Kong versus Godzilla is huge for the franchise, and I think really solidifies Godzilla's popularity. Like, yes, the first Godzilla was amazing, and then you got the Raymond Burr Americanized version that brought it to Americanize, that made it successful. But like, I think taking the most popular American kaiju, King Kong, from the 1933 Marion C. Cooper RKO films, and then putting him against Japan's most popular kaiju was kind of, and when you think about it, like, it's impressive that Japan kind of allowed King Kong to win in that one. Kind of won. But like, it's an interesting thought. But I agree. Yeah, man. Orchid Eye, see, you can tell us Godzilla fans, we're like, yep.
King Donkey Kong agrees with that. King Kong vs. Godzilla is my favorite, he says.
It's a good movie.
Okay.
All right. With the 5th round draft pick, Trey, you're on the clock.
I'm on the clock. Okay, so once again, I could probably say like 5 different films for my third place. I think I know which one Orc and Beans is going to go with, so I'm not going to take it from you. I'm going to let you have your moment.
That's not how drafts work, Trey.
I know,
Pick the
but
one you want.
I'm going to let him have his star player, because it's important to him, because I think I got a good draft already. I have the original. I don't have to go, I don't have to get
You're
greedy.
building a solid team right now.
Yeah, I'm happy with my quarterback and my running back.
I'm
now I
going to
need
pick
to
a
find
movie
wide
that
receiver.
you don't expect then.
Really? Okay. Well, so here, I like I said, I could go many different routes. I'm going to go with this choice simply because I keep going back to it. And it blew my mind so much. The first time I saw it in theaters, I was kind of like, I don't really know how I feel about this. I have mixed reviews. And then it came out on DVD and on digital, and I kept watching it and watching it and watching it. And to me, it's kind of like why I like some of the DCEU films that Zack Snyder did, because they're thought provoking. They make you think. They create discussions and dialogue. Because of that, the movie I'm going to pick for my third choice, because it's so outlandish and weird, but it gets back to the root of who Godzilla is, or started as a character, Shin Godzilla.
Great movie.
See?
I figured that was the one you thought I was going to take.
What year was that?
If I'm right, I'll tell you. I won't lie about it either. If you pick the one that I think you're going to pick, I'll be like, that's it. But
what year was Shin Godzilla?
2016.
Same year as BVS, baby.
Shin Godzilla is actually one trade that you've told me to watch numerous times.
I have wanted someone to watch it with me. We will definitely do a watch party of it sometime.
Yeah.
Because I need to, like, now that Orc has seen it, I've been wanting to discuss the final scene of that freaking movie since I saw it, and it is lived rent free in my mind since I saw it. I was addicted to it.
Anything else you'd like to say about Shin Godzilla?
It's slow for some people because it goes more on the political side of things, but what they do with Godzilla and the different transformations that he goes through, it's important because there's a song in there that gives me chills and I get emotional every time I listen to it. But there's so much deep rooted meaning to that film that if you're only watching it for the sake of entertainment, like I would say, if you like Godzilla versus Kong because it's entertaining, it's fast paced, you probably won't like Shin Godzilla because it's thought provoking. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I like that. All right. And with the sixth and final pick of today's draft, Orc, you are on the clock.
I'm stuck between two, but I think I'm going to have to go with the one that I think Trey thinks I'm going to pick. 1974 Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
Oh.
So first of all, Trey and I were talking about a lot of stuff beforehand. Trey, we're wrong. The monkey people is the 1975 Mechagodzilla. The 1974 Mechagodzilla.
Wait, is that the Terror of Mechagodzilla?
Terror of Mechagodzilla
is the monkey people?
Is the monkey people.
Oh, okay.
And what year was that movie?
The one Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, which I'm bringing up, is 1974. And it's interesting because I feel like it's a very brutal movie, and I want to say this is I'm looking through it. I believe this is the first Mechagodzilla movie, and I feel like a lot of people know of Mechagodzilla. Like, and this one's interesting because the beginning of the movie you're a little confused because Godzilla beats the shit out of Angrius and like breaks his lower jaw, and it's really disturbing. And it's not until later in the movie that you find out that it's not the true Godzilla, it is Mechagodzilla. And just seeing that transformation into Mechagodzilla is insane. And we also get to see King Caesar, which is a
King Caesar.
dog gremlin thing, apparently.
Dope as hell, though.
That they have to basically summon him through a mountain. He comes out of this mountain, and he teams up with Godzilla to take on Mechagodzilla. And I think it's the only time we ever see King Caesar, or he might have been in Final War.
He shows up in Final Wars. Yeah.
Yeah. And King Caesar's a cool kaiju as well. But I feel like Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla in 1974 is a very it's just an iconic battle between Godzilla and Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
My 3B pick was going to be Gigan. Godzilla versus Gigan in
Okay, see,
1974.
that's interesting. I mean, that is a
Oh, how
great
do you
one.
feel
But
about
I
that?
thought you were gonna do Hedorah. Like that was my 3B.
I don't think Hedorah's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I don't think, if we're talking in the sense of like which movies should people watch, a top 3, I don't think Hedorah is a movie that people need to watch. I just really like it. I like Godzilla versus Gigan because Gigan is a very interesting, it's kind of like Mechagodzilla before Mechagodzilla was a thing. And it's also one of the first times that we see Godzilla bleed in a movie.
That's right.
Yes. And then also King Ghidorah's in the movie, which is always super rad. And so Gigan was my 3B, but I still think I guess the 8 people are in both movies, whatever. In one of the movies, once they kill someone, they find out they're actually like these ape aliens or whatever. It's kind of weird. But I have a miniature Mechagodzilla hanging from my car. I should have brought this up before when Trey was talking about his 1954.
You got
Godzilla.
a poster? Oh, I'm jelly.
I got it in Florida. So this is a poster
That's really cool.
of the 1954 movie.
That's awesome.
So just to show off how cool Godzilla looks in 1954 . But yeah,
I can't wait to get into this. This is going to be so much
it's
fun.
amazing. It truly is amazing, and you will be hooked from 1954 on. That first movie is just, and it's impressive, and it's also, especially the one thing that I didn't realize that I was going to experience was just the history of Japanese filmmaking.
Yes.
Because it's very different from American history.
Mm-hmm.
Because they spend a lot longer time in like the black and white era than America did. Because they really wanted to perfect black and white before they moved on. Where, America was very quick to hop onto the new technology, hop onto CGI and stuff like that. Like, the Japanese film history goes in a much slower pace because they really want to make their stuff look good before they kind of move on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe they should have spent a little more time working on CGI before they started implementing into their movie, because there's some of them that just looks terrible. I forget which movie is it, but there's a point where the front windshield blows back into the main character's face, and it is by far the worst CGI I have ever seen.
I think that's Godzilla 2000.
And there's a really good chance that it is.
Yeah.
It's so bad. And then you look at, it's crazy because, I was flipping back between like King Kong and even during like when I had to go watch the Peter Jackson King Kong movie in 2005. And then you go and you watch a Godzilla movie from around that same time, you would think they're 20, 30 years apart.
Yeah.
In the quality between the two. So it was kind of really fun to watch like the history of Japanese film and their progression in technology and stuff like that. But the stuff that they're able to do, like what Trey talked about in the 1954 movie, some of the stuff that they could do in 1954 is insane. Obviously, it's 2023 for us. We can pick out this stuff. You can tell when the car turns and then turns into a toy car and then back into a car. You
Yeah.
can pick that out.
I love that part.
But when you put yourself into the mindset that like this is 1954 and the people of 1954 probably thought this was like witchcraft
Yeah.
with what they were able to do, because it's really impressive.
Well, you know, they go from claymation to dude in a suit, you know, destroying a miniature city, and it, you know, it's terrifying. And I think what also kind of sold it was kind of it was fresh for Japan. You know, the destruction was fresh. And one thing I think the director did really, really well was to kind of imitate a lot of the destruction that they saw from the nuclear bomb. And you could tell there's probably not a lot of acting involved, like a lot of fear and scare of nuclear power and like the destruction of Tokyo. Like they've seen it firsthand. And like I said, I think it was wonderful. Like, even though when they created the Raymond Burr version and they did it by getting, you know, Raymond Burr to basically act with different actors, and they would do the back of their head to make it look like he was talking to the Japanese actor that was actually in Godzilla, but he's not. It creates a very interesting open dialogue between America and Japan after World War II. And I find it just very interesting of kind of how Japan treats that, you know, and how we treat it.
They even bring it up in the 1954 movie. There's a woman on the train and she goes, I survived a nuclear bomb. Now I have to deal with this. She is putting Godzilla on the same level as a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like we had talked about, a lot of the movies are kind of about nuclear bombs and nuclear waste and pollution stuff, but like that. But it just also kind of elevates Godzilla and his status and how dangerous he is.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, to put him on the same level of the type of destruction that they saw with the bombs and stuff like that, like it had to have been a much different feeling for them than it would for like us Americans watching the movies and stuff like that. But it just made Godzilla even more scary.
Yeah.
You're so right, because like when I think of it, I think of something you know, really funny and playful and more about imagination. But when you think about it in that context of like, this is an expression of dealing with that trauma for the Japanese, especially after seeing Oppenheimer and being aware of, you know, of that kind of the history and how detrimental it was, how really insane that experience must have been for them, and just the idea of what was horribly done. And you know, like that has another meaning to that, just adds another like edge of depth to all of this. So I know, like when I look at it next time, I will be taking it a little bit more seriously, even though we're dealing with miniatures and cars and Devovers, you know. And I think I'm gonna try to list. I'm gonna try to use the original language one, just to get the real acting.
Yeah. And, you know, there's definitely some lighthearted moments throughout Godzilla. It goes
Flies
through
at
a
one point.
transition. Yeah, I mean, he flies, he does
dances.
a weird jump kick, you know, and he has a son, you know, he does become a child superhero, basically. When they kind of got away, you know, the idea was kind of in the 60s, the 70s, peace, love, and war, you know, Godzilla was like morphed into something that, well, now he's a protector of the earth. You know, he is a force of nature, but his goal is to defend Earth from, you know, outside forces. And it's, in some places you could say that's so un-Godzilla, but in another way, it kind of elevated a layer of Godzilla that kept him in the pulp culture world even longer, you know. And now he can kind of go back and forth, which is awesome, right? Like, because now you can play with whatever. You can have Godzilla be the savior, you can have Godzilla be the protagonists, the force of nature that's punishing the world for nuclear energy. You can have him do it all. And that's like just great for the character in itself.
Mhm.
But
He is an icon.
I want to plug another channel. I wish I would have found these reviews beforehand, but the channel Big Action Bill does the best like reviews of a lot of the Godzilla movies. Not any of the newer ones, but for a while towards the end there, I would watch a Godzilla movie and then immediately go and watch his review of it, because he doesn't just talk about the movie, he talks about what was happening behind the scenes, what was happening in Japan at the time. He uses all of these different resources to talk about like the actual behind the scene, the creating of the movies, who each, he goes super like one of the videos I watched that he did was like an hour-long review,
Ooh, I
because
love
there's
that.
just so much stuff that he puts into them. They're absolute good. The Butler has seen them. A wonderful channel to watch. So I definitely recommend, if you are gonna want to hop into watching these Godzilla movies, watch the movie and then watch his reviews of it, because it just expands it makes you want to watch the movie again, because now you can look for some of the stuff that he mentions and talks about. It's absolutely amazing. I wish I would have found him sooner.
Nice. So that's awesome. So to kind of recap, we have Trey with Godzilla 1954, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and Shin Godzilla. Orc, we have Godzilla vs. Destroyer, King Kong vs. Godzilla 1962, and Godzilla vs. Mecha Godzilla. So I'm Retro and I can't really comment on which team won, So I'm gonna leave it up to the chat. I put a poll in there just now. So who won the Monarch Monsters beginner Godzilla movie starter pick draft? So I'm gonna let you guys all vote. But while we're there, is there any other honorable mentions that that you guys think we should take a look at?
Before that, Red Hood Outlaw, the link that I just posted is to his channel. Trey, do you have any ones that you really wanted to talk to you about, but you just didn't make quite the number?
Like some alternates.
Yeah, like
that I was thinking
honorable
about.
mentions that didn't just barely didn't make the draft.
Yes, there was one that kind of pains me not to say, and you can kind of tell like movies that like the Godzilla films I really do like. It's the ones that kind of play back into the original a little bit. And Godzilla against Mecha Godzilla was definitely one of my favorites, because it brought back I don't want to give it away, because I think it's important to kind of experience it the first time, but they kind of bring something back from the 1954 to put it up against Godzilla, this new version of Godzilla. And I think if you try to peel back the layers and look deep within it, I think you say to yourself, like, yeah, I prefer this version. Godzilla against Mecha Godzilla, I think it's just there's some good dialogue there, a good hidden message that's worth taking a watch. Yeah.
One that I mentioned it a little bit. It's just a movie that's just silly a little bit. Is Ibra Horror of the Deep. Godzilla literally fights a giant lobster, and that when I saw that he was going to fight a giant lobster, I was like, I cannot wait to get to this movie. And it's a pretty good movie, but it's just like the image of him fighting a giant lobster was just so funny to me. And so that one I think is like, that movie is, if you want more of the lighthearted, not so serious, not so scary, Tokyo's not in danger in this movie. It's basically they're, a group of scientists are stuck on an island. And so that movie is just kind of one of those movies that you would put on if you just want a movie on in the background. And every now and then you look up and you see Godzilla fighting a lobster and ripping his little claws off. So that movie is just, it's a fun one. It's just a real fun one.
I mean, they all bring something to the table, whether it's just fun entertainment and silliness and watching just monsters kick the living hell out of each other. Like Godzilla versus Megalon, which I watched just recently, not the new short that they did, but the old one, the 1976, I want to say, when Jet Jaguar shows
73.
up. Yeah, 73 was it?
Yep.
Okay. And they basically bully Gigan and Megalon. Like Jet Jaguar like holds them up while Godzilla just beats the hell out of them. And it's just like, you know what?
And the story of Jet Jaguar is crazy too.
Yeah.
It was literally a little kid won a contest for a design he made, and they made a movie originally. And this, I got a lot of this info from the Big Action Bill channel that I brought up, but they didn't think Jet Jaguar, the movie, could work. So they threw Godzilla in it.
Yeah.
And so it's supposed to be Jet Jaguar, the movie, but they made it a Godzilla movie and literally added this little kid's drawing into a movie. And he's actually pretty cool. Jet Jaguar is pretty awesome.
He got a lot of love at G-Fest this year. A dude came out with the Jet Jaguar outfit, you know, to show the new short movie that they made. And the crowd went wild. So I hope at some point they give it a shot. Like, give us an anime movie. You know, I don't know if they need to make a full out like cinematic Shin, you know, Jet Jaguar film, but
well, and that's the thing too with the Monsterverse is actually so much bigger than just these 30-ish Godzilla movies, because Rodan gets his own movies.
Yeah.
Mothra gets his own movie, or she gets her own movies.
She got like 4, if I recall.
She gets quite a few. Rodan gets a few. I think Anguirus gets a few. There's so like it expands even farther.
So much. Even Kong, like the Japanese Kong, they did like a Mecha Kong film.
Yeah.
There's even some like, it's hard to find, but if you can find it, there are some like hidden Godzilla films out there. Like a famous one that a lot of people talk about is the Godzilla versus Wolfman. I don't think they actually finished it, but there is some scenes with them actually like a dude in a Wolfman suit and Godzilla going at it. It was like a fan-made film that actually had some budget behind it, and it was going to be released at one point before it got shut down, but it just there's a ton out there, and if you want to go further into it, which we'll talk about in a moment as well, Gamera, you know, the turtle, the flying turtle, which is basically like everyone has been wanting. It's kind of like before Batman v Superman came out. Ever since the comics, people wanted a Godzilla versus Gamera, and it's never happened. This is for Godzilla fans, right? They really want Godzilla versus Gamera to happen at some point.
All right. Well, Trey, the polls have closed.
Ooh.
And the winner of the first Who Won the Monarch Monsters Beginner Godzilla Movie Starter Pack Draft, Trey with 56% and Orc with 43%.
I'm happy at least it was a close battle, because Trey had a heavy hitter with the first one.
Yeah, I mean,
so I'm glad I kept it close.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm sure a lot of those went for you have the first one, Trey. You gotta you win. You know, that one instantly. I think I'd be surprised if there's a Godzilla fan out there that doesn't say the first movie in the top 3. You know, even after all these years, like a new fan who has seen all the movies, an old fan who has seen all the new movies. I don't know if anyone would say the first movie isn't in that prestige category. You know, it's just the truth.
Yeah, I think that was probably, you know, a true, you know, Godzilla versus Kong kind of, you know, walk off of a draft battle there. So no, very cool. While Trey, we were doing that, Trevor H gave us the $4.99, $5 super chat. Who's your favorite kaiju other than the obvious?
Other than Godzilla, that's tough, man. Orc and I were talking about this earlier, but I've always been a huge fan of Titanosaurus from Terror of Mechagodzilla. I just love the design. I think it's cool. But if I had to, like, if someone was like gun to the head, like pick your second favorite kaiju, I've always been sweet on Anguirus. Anguirus is my boy. You know, ever since Godzilla raids again, you know, that was the first battle with Godzilla and Anguirus. I've always felt like Anguirus is underrated. No one ever gives Anguirus his time of day. And I was so depressed. Orc, I don't know if you know this, but there was a fan-made film that was being made called, oh God, I want to say it was like Godzilla Origins, something like that. And they were bringing back the Steve Martin character, and they made a design, a new design of Anguirus that was so flippin' awesome. Oh no, not Godzilla Origins, Godzilla Heritage. That's what it was called. Godzilla Heritage. They made a design for Anguirus that was out of this world cool. That was like, this needs to happen. And if it doesn't happen, Monsterverse Legendary, please make it freaking happen, because it was just a great design. And of course, Toho shut it down pretty quick because Toho's pretty strict about who can use Godzilla, which probably a smart decision. But nonetheless, I was really bummed that that film fell through. But yeah, probably Anguirus is my go-to boy.
I've always just been sweet on Rodan. Rodan's cool, except for some of the earlier models of Rodan are a little suspect. He's got a lot of nipples.
What?
Oh yeah, there was
There was a Rodan that had some very elongated nipples on him.
Holy moly.
But Rodan was always just so cool to me. And in one of the movies, Rodan is a huge part in it because he kind of pulls a Mothra and lets Godzilla kind of absorb him and basically gives him like an upgrade to his, you know, his laser beam essentially. And
yeah,
it's probably the strongest Godzilla ever is at that point when he kind of has that Rodan energy.
Was that Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2 in like the 90s?
I don't remember which one Rodan helps him out in. It might be Mechagodzilla 1993. I'm
almost certain that's the one I'm
because
thinking of.
they never really bring it up again, but he basically, like, Godzilla absorbs Rodan and
Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2.
Yeah. And it completely changes like the power level of Godzilla. You know, a lot of times when Mothra would let Godzilla or someone else absorb, it was basically just to heal. This was an upgrade. And it just, if I remember correctly, doesn't he have like a red beam this time or something like that?
I think it was the first time he had red atomic breath.
Yeah, and so it's so cool. And I just thought Rodan was just a cool creature anyway, because he would just kind of fly and scratch at you while he went by.
Yeah.
You know, he was just he was kind of what I wanted Mothra to be, but once I realized what Mothra's role really truly was, I totally liked her more. But Rodan, I always really thought Rodan was cool.
Yeah.
I need to watch his movies.
I'm curious now what Retro's gonna say. Like what's your thoughts, Retro? You've had to seen like some of the
Well,
posters or a little bit of it. So who's your favorite kaiju?
well, I really don't know enough about them. Um, for now, it's you said besides Godzilla, right? So I'm thinking Mechagodzilla is pretty cool. Just the outlook of
Nice.
things. Um, I did take a look at Angeris while we were talking, and that's an interesting design. And Rodan, I do remember Rodan. I remember I saw one or two movies or with Rodan in it, and then there was definitely um, Mothra. So those are the ones that I can recall. But otherwise, I think I'm looking forward to seeing if I get any. I might look at this and
Mm.
look at it and say, "Hey, look, this is a new one." But I've written down all of your picks. So I'm like Gigan. We've got the Anguirus one. Those are new to me. Destroya. So I am gonna be looking out for all of those those kaiju.
Nice.
Nice.
I think
And my question is, are there any weird ones that no one hardly ever knows about that are kind of like one to take a look at?
In terms of movies or kaijus?
Kaijus, yes.
There's a few that don't really get any, like no one ever remembers them. And there's like Manda, who is
Panda.
basically basically the eternal dragon from like
of
Dragon
course,
Ball
I
Z.
was about to say, Trey, you have one.
Yeah, you know me, man.
Baragon.
Who's that?
Baragon.
Baragon doesn't get enough love. There's the Ibra, the lobster is kind of one that not a lot of people talk about. Biolante is not
A lobster.
Biolante we've only seen in one movie, like one and done. They never brought it back, not even for Godzilla Final Wars.
And that's
you would bring Biolante back, but
yeah, that's the link you shared with us, right? Or Beans?
Yes, that was the Internet Archive was Biolante.
I mean, there's quite a bit of Godzilla kaijus that kind of showed up for even Gorosaurus, like
or it's the spider one, Kumanga.
I might avoid that one.
Gamicus, something like that. I used to know all these kaijus by heart and been like boom, 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 and Orga's a weird one in Godzilla 2000. Like rewatching that was kind of like, that is a very different kind of kaiju that they really kind of took a chance on, and it's kind of an interesting creature, I guess I should say, or alien species. Yeah, I don't know. There's some fun ones. I think everyone could find a design that they're like, oh, I really love that one. Even King Ghidorah goes through quite a bit of a change throughout history. I mean, generally he's always showing up with 3 heads, 3 dragon heads. But in Godzilla Final Wars, they gave him a new design, Monster X.
Yeah, he turns into like the skull version of King Ghidorah.
It was weird, but kind of cool at the same time.
Yeah.
There's some fun ones, Retro. I'd be curious to see when we do a Godzilla celebration next year, for the 70th anniversary, to hear like if your thoughts or like what has changed for you over time.
Okay.
But yeah, there's some fun, some goodies out there. And of course, MonsterVerse is Legendary's created their own kaijus. And part of that is because every time they do a design of a Toho creature, Legendary has to go through a lot of designs and licensing fees through Toho, which is why they end up just creating their own monsters. for the most part. They paid for Godzilla, they
Oh.
paid for Kong, they paid for Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan, but they're kind of like, we'll create the Mutos, we'll create whatever this new orangutan is. They'll create this Doug creature, this weird snake thing. It's just cheaper for them to kind of do that, because when they were designing the 2014 Godzilla, I think they spent like 6 months like going back and forth to Toho being like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that design? And they would kind of, Toho was very protective after the 1998 Godzilla that America did, that they're like, you got to go classic here. If you give us another weird iguana thing, we're done. We're out, Yeah.
TriStar ruined it for everybody.
TriStar, yeah. Well, which is why when they made their first Godzilla movie, and it was so, box office wise, it did pretty well. They could have done a sequel if they wanted to, but it was so hated amongst Godzilla fans and just people in general that TriStar was kind of like, probably not a good idea.
There is one good shining light from that movie coming out. Peter Jackson wanted to make a King Kong movie.
That's true.
He saw that movie and saw how shitty everyone reacted to it, that instead of making his King Kong movie until he did much later in 2005, he went and made Lord of the Rings.
Thank God for that.
Which going with that transition, I would have to say my favorite kaiju, since you picked Rodan, is King Kong. King Kong all the way, buddy.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Don't.
But there's actually
he's the original OG, I
right?
guess. Too.
Exactly. When was the first Godzilla film?
1954.
And when's the original King Kong film?
1933.
Oh, interesting.
We don't talk about the other King Kong movie that came out in 1933.
I
wait, the other King? Oh, wait, you're talking about Son of Kong?
Son of Kong came out the same year.
Yeah, that was kind of a mistake on their part, especially when they did Mighty Joe Young shortly after. It was kind of like, what are we doing? You're just trying to bank off the success of Kong.
But Mighty Joe Young was good. That other one wasn't so good.
Yeah, especially when Disney did their version with Bill Paxton and Charlize Theron. I did like that.
Liked that.
That was fun.
So I have to say, the chat came up with some really good ones too. So Space Godzilla, Mothra, Red Hooded Outlaw said Doug. No, it actually said Mecha Godzilla. Kiryu?
Kiryu is Mecha Godzilla. It's just another name they go by.
Gigan?
Gigan.
Yeah. King Ghidorah. I really dug Gamera.
Oh, I don't have that one.
Mothra. We have Rodan. We have Destroyer. Let's see. Yep.
What's the other one with an H?
Fedora. That one is very heavily pollution. It's literally a pollution monster.
It's definitely an environmental message in there.
And Gears.
And then because he can turn into a ball basically and spin and hit with a flying attack.
Is that basically an armadillo, right?
Yeah, kinda.
But thank you so much, Trevor H, for the $5 super chat, and then also coming in right after Brogu. Good to see you, Brogu. It's great having you guys back.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you so much, bud.
King Donkey Kong, come on now.
Why? What did Donkey Kong?
Manila
drops.
Who?
Manila.
No.
Baby Godzilla.
Don't ever bring up Manila to me. Manila was a mistake. And
if you want to watch Godzilla just be a really shitty dad, watch Son of Godzilla.
Yeah. Oh, I can't blame him. He was like, this thing is not my child. He was like, I'm taking no responsibility for this one. He's like, I don't even know who your mother is, kid.
Yeah, that's always weird.
Yeah, they never really do explain that one, do they? I think which is why they kind of made a joke with it with the 1998 Godzilla of him being asexual, But yeah, man, there's so much great stuff, and like you literally could go on and on with all the great Godzilla content. And this is where I say, kind of to our theme of today's show with Godzilla Celebration, there's so much great content coming out. It truly is like a crazy time to be a Godzilla fan. Like, look at this slide here. This is all that is coming out either this year or next year. It's insane. You got Godzilla Minus One, Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, Godzilla Kong, The New Empire, Godzilla Kong The Hunted comic, the Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong comic, which I did read the first issue. I gotta say, as someone who owns the first, appearance of Godzilla in a comic with the Marvel issue, and him kind of appearing in some of the Avenger characters around, being a Batman fan and a Godzilla fan, this to me was like one of the greatest things to ever happen. Never thought it was going to happen because I don't know. I figured Legendary would keep it separate, and Warner Brothers didn't really have a say in that. But like the fact that we got a comic with Batman and Godzilla facing off, I was like, thank you. There is a God. But you even got the short films that they've done. Let's see, Godzilla Best of Rodan, Godzilla Best of King Ghidorah. Oh, the IDW comics. Yes.
If you need more Godzilla, there's plenty of comics to be had.
Oh, absolutely, right? Like it's not just MonsterVerse stuff. They got the Godzilla Here Be Dragons. That is like a fun kind of period piece with Godzilla. They've even done Godzilla Rivals. There's so much like great comics that are coming out now with Godzilla, and to get kind of the expansion that they're doing with the MonsterVerse with all their comics and the prequel comics, like it's just like a crazy cool time. And then you got Netflix doing all these anime shows with Gamera, which was actually pretty good. I was surprised by Gamera. Like I thought that was actually fairly solid. And then you had Skull Island, which I think it was good. I think Gamera was slightly better, but Skull Island was actually just kind of a cool expansion. And I think honestly, it probably should have came out before Godzilla versus Kong, because it kind of gives Kong a little more depth and a kind of a little bit more tragedy to his backstory a bit, to make the loneliness that he feels in the last film kind of hit harder, in my opinion. So, like I said, all this crazy cool Godzilla content coming out, and just like it's there's no better time to be a Godzilla fan than right freaking now. I mean, we'll just kind of go through it. Have any of you guys seen any of the anime stuff? No. I will say, so, Orc, have you not even seen Godzilla Earth?
No, because you and I talked about it, but I never ended up looking it up and watching it.
Okay. So
that was like the 3 animated movies or something that you and I talked about. You had named it something different than I had it.
Yeah, it's kind of gone by some different names, because I know it went by Godzilla, I think Planet Earth or something like that. I think it was Godzilla Earth is what some people referred it to. And then it had like 3 separate names for each film. A weird take on Godzilla. You either like it or you're kind of like, yeah, this is weird. They even did Godzilla Singular Point, which was kind of a little more like classic with the Godzilla theme. They kind of also had a bit of a Shin Gojira thing go on with it in terms of transformations. So it was interesting, but to me, none of the Godzilla anime has been like super like, oh my God, this is awesome. This is fantastic. I think Skull Island has easily been the better of like, the monster King Kong Godzilla thing going on. But Gamera was actually fairly solid for the most part. If you have time, check them out. If you don't, I don't think you're missing much. But something to keep in mind. And then the comics, like we were just talking about. I just pre-ordered my Kickstarter comics today for Godzilla Kong the Hunted, which I just learned is no longer Godzilla X Kong. Adam Wingard, who's the director of Godzilla Kong, The New Empire, he keeps referring to it as Godzilla Kong rather than all of us were calling it Godzilla X Kong or Godzilla and Kong. So I guess we now have our official way of what to call it. But I don't know. I'm excited to get that comic. I think it's supposed to come out in March, which will give us a little bit of prequel information about the new movie that comes out, maybe to find out what's going on with that Oranga Kong. I don't know. Or Emperor Kong, as I've heard some people call him, or Scar Kong. I don't know. So many people have created different names.
Good.
Right? It looks cool. But yeah, have you guys? I think we asked this before, but have you guys checked out any of like the Godzilla comics? I know you have Rodan and King Ghidorah Orc.
I have not, but that the Godzilla Con one that you hunt too definitely sounds interesting. And obviously, being a Superman guy, Justice League, Godzilla Con looks fantastic as well.
Okay. Retro, have you picked up the Justice League versus Godzilla and Kong one?
No, I didn't know that it existed until just now. So, I'm not sure if I'll get that. I think I'm going to start with just the movies for now.
Yeah, that's
because I'm on a budget, but anyway.
No,
but anyway, like that looks. I mean, what that's telling me, like all of these things that are coming out, is just telling me that there is such an audience, a big audience for this, and not only that, the companies are trying to actually merchandise this stuff to the fans. So yeah, I want to get into this so I can eventually get the comic books, because that sounds really cool. The Justice League against
I will say they've only had the first issue so far, and it's silly, it's kind of corny. We'll have to see where they go with it, but like I would honestly tell you, especially if you're on a budget and you don't want to like blow it, like right now it hasn't been completely worth it. But we're only one issue into it, maybe that'll change once we get a little more into the battles. Godzilla Here Be Dragons, though, that one's actually pretty good. I've enjoyed that one fairly well. The whole like MonsterVerse prequel comics, I have Godzilla Awakening, Godzilla Aftershock. I'm still waiting to get my Godzilla versus Kong prequel comic that they did for both Kong and Godzilla, but so far the MonsterVerse comics have been pretty solid too. Like especially there's one in particular that may affect Monarch Legacy of Monsters, so I'm hoping they keep it canon. I don't know. We'll see.
Dude, Sea of Thieves needs to do a drop with a Godzilla. Here, there be dragon.
Right, man. We've been talking about doing the Megalodon challenge that they got going on.
That would make my day, man.
Brother. You already know. So yeah, you got all these comics. Corey, let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Jet Jaguar finally makes an appearance after all this time. They did a little short movie at G-Fest this year with the Godzilla Final War suit and Jet Jaguar battling out. I actually did watch the video to this, and it was fun. Jet Jaguar is just kind of crazy. He's agile. He's like Mortal Kombating Godzilla, basically, and they basically have this nice little like, man, like good fight. Like it was fun.
He actually looks really cool, in my opinion. I kind of like how he looks.
Jet Jaguar is awesome. He can fly and everything too. It's pretty neat.
Yeah,
he kind of reminds me of like Power Rangers in some ways, like when they morph into that thing altogether.
Actually, he was kind of like the original. What the Zords? Zords,
right? Zords, yeah.
Okay.
From Power Rangers, yeah.
It's been a while since I've watched me some Power Rangers.
He always reminded me of Ultraman, and I think it's the helmet thing, the way it kind of goes up like that. But I really never heard of Jet Jaguar until this year.
And what a sick name!
Oh, yeah,
right.
Just such a cool name, Jet Jaguar.
Yeah, he does have a cool name.
or like Turbo Man. He's Turbo Man doll.
Oh, Turbo Man, yes. They do have kind of similar look. But yeah, I've never even heard of him until this year. When I did, I was like, oh, okay. This is part of the reason why I need to bone up on my on my Godzilla lore. So now I do.
Well, it's just kind of fun because I love that technology has advanced, right? Like they've gotten away from doing the man in the suit, but for G Fest, it's cool that they kind of give these little projects like bringing out, the Final Wars Godzilla design suit and kind of put it in some action, get some use out of it, because often they use these designs once and then they kind of move on to something new because each director kind of wants their own flair to it. So it's cool to see them kind of give some updates, have fun with it, give the fans like we haven't forgotten you kind of thing, like we know where we came from, honor the past, embrace the future, which I love that they're doing with all this. I mean, speaking of updates in terms of designs, the short film, so the same studio that did the Godzilla versus Gigan Rex from last year, Corey, I think you remember us watching that before Toho shut us down in the middle of our stream.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, we were doing a reaction video and like all of a sudden people were messaging us like, where'd you guys go?
Was that the trailer that you guys were watching, or the actual?
We were watching so it was just a short movie that I think was like 3 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking it was no big deal. We've done trailers that are 3 minutes long,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but Toho was not having it. They wanted all the credit, all the viewership, and they got us. They took us down, and we eventually came back up to finish out our show. But it was a lesson learned at that moment to never mess with Toho in their brands. But
It straight up nuked our stream.
Straight up nuke. Oh, that's poor taste, Corey. Oh man, but Corey, can you pull up the slide, please, good sir? So Megalon has always kind of been like this beetle-looking creature, and I gotta say, I love the animation design here. Like, just they went crazy with it. Megalon flying around, just like complete, like what? I'm totally spacing what that old anime like Gungans. Is it Gungans show? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? It was like robots.
You're right. Yes, I think you're right. I think you're talking about Gungans.
I think it's Gungans. I think so. Or is Gungans? Oh God, is Gungans actually Star Wars?
Yes.
Like,
Gungan is Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar Binks, right? Like,
Hold on.
Help me, Orc. You know what I'm talking about, right? They were like robots, like, and they had like swords, and like it was like a dope anime show that I cannot remember for the life of me.
But it's not G-Force, is it?
Dunk me.
I think it's that gung. It does look like Gungam, but it is like oh, hold on.
Wait. I think I found a picture.
Come on, chat. Someone help us out.
What's it called? I literally found the picture to it, and I now like need to find the name of it.
Is it Gundam?
Gundams.
Yeah, Gundam.
Gundams. Yeah.
Not Jar Jar Binks.
Totally different. Totally different thing. I'm like, show us the picture.
Right. Good grief. Yeah, it's kind of like that, just like in terms of like action sequence with Megalon. But I loved even like the new like power attributes they give him, like him like moving his drills together. The short movies have been fun. I hope they keep up with them for the future. But Corey, let's talk about something that I'm personally super excited for, and this is what we're going to be focusing on for the Monarch Monstars going into November and December until obviously Godzilla Minus One comes out to talk about. But the new Monarch Legacy of Monsters show, boy oh boy, have you guys seen the trailers?
I've seen the trailers. Yes.
Thoughts?
I have not seen it.
Yeah, I'm
stupid excited for it. I'm so excited for a Godzilla TV show. I'm looking forward to seeing like John Goodman's one of my favorite actors, so I'm excited to see. Hopefully, he's in it a lot. I know in the world in the universe, the MonsterVerse, he's dead. But so I'm curious to see if it's just like recordings of him, or if they're going to go back in time and kind of show some of the stuff that he was doing. And I'm just kind of curious to see, the more inner workings of Monarch and what they're really up to. And I'm just excited to watch more Godzilla.
I have a question actually. I see that John Goodman's in it. He's also in. Yeah, he's also in Kong, isn't he? Which Kong is he in?
He's in
Kong
Kong
Skull
Sky
Island.
Island. Yeah, Skull Island.
So is there any connection to that?
It's the same character. Yeah,
It is the same character. Okay.
Yeah, it's not like a son of his or anything. Though his family, his legacy, is in the show, which I believe is the girl that you see up front.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's like his granddaughter or something like that. But essentially, it takes the majority of the story takes place between Godzilla 2014 and Godzilla King of the Monsters. It is going to go back in time to show us what happened in 1954 when they tried to destroy Godzilla the first time, when they dropped a nuke on him and it didn't work. That you see in the 2014 opening credits. They are going to show us a little bit of what happened there. And they're going to show us that Bill Randa, apparently, which is John Goodman's character, he was up to something on Skull Island. Like, we knew he was already up to something, because he knew there was something on the island when he brought everyone there, and he wanted to prove that kaijus and monsters existed to have us take him out, basically, because of what happened to him in the past. But it sounds like he was searching for something else as well. And there's like old footage and this is what I loved about the MonsterVerse. The MonsterVerse in 2014 Godzilla built itself up so much with one of the coolest idea, which was a secret organization that was trying to keep titans and the massive unidentified terrestrial organisms hidden from the world with Monarch. And they kind of dropped the ball with it, in King of the Monsters. I mean, they did have an impact, right? In King of the Monsters, they were kind of more defense rather than, research and investigation. In a secret organization, they kind of got brought to light. But the fact that they're kind of, going to focus on the secrecy of this group, the confidentiality, and all the hidden secrets that will be revealed to us, I think is just such a cool concept, and what made the MonsterVerse already interesting in the first place, that now they're going to build upon it. So exciting.
Well, and I'm excited too, because there's parts in Skull Island where like John Goodman's character comes out of the bushes, or, he wasn't with the group and now he is with the group. And so, if they are going to show a lot of like footage of like him doing recordings from Skull Island, it makes sense if you watch Skull Island, because there are times where he's absent. So it's a small detail like that makes me think of like, oh, they thought about this, because like it would make sense that there are these recordings, because there's times where he's missing from Skull Island, and it's probably when he was making these recordings, just a small detail like that. So I'm super excited for it.
What you guys are telling me is that this show is kind of coincides with Skull Island. That's a movie I did not see. What year did that come out?
That's a newer one.
Was it 2017?
Let me find out.
I think so.
I think the thing that excites me the most as you guys are figuring that out about this is Kurt Russell's in it. That's freaking awesome, man.
So it's Wyatt Russell. So Wyatt Russell is playing
which one's Wyatt Russell?
The one on the left, who he's literally in real life. He's Kurt Russell's son. Yeah.
Yeah, well, obviously Kurt
You've
Russell.
You've seen
him
in Goon 2, Corey.
Never seen Goon 2.
Goon 2?
Goon 2. Okay.
Yeah,
that's him.
Yeah, with the dude with the beard.
What?
Yeah. So he's literally the son of Kurt Russell, but in this show, he is playing a younger version of Kurt Russell, as Kurt Russell's character that is going to kind of show you things that took place, I think, kind of shortly after Kong Skull Island.
Okay, so Kong Skull Island happened when? I mean, I
in
know
the 70s.
not okay. It's set in the 70s.
I want to say, is it 76 or
Yeah,
74?
It's right after the Vietnam War, right?
Yeah, they talk about Vietnam.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Samuel Jackson's in that movie.
Samuel Jackson, and he does do some Jurassic Park.
He's tired of his mother effing eggs on his mother effing island.
Hold on.
That's actually a good impersonation.
Yeah, Kong Skull Island is actually a great film.
It's got some good shots.
It's good.
It's got some real. There's a shot pretty early once they get onto the island. It's like one of the first times you really get to see Kong, and it's just this really imposing silhouette of him.
So good.
That's
So good.
super awesome.
All right.
Yeah, it really kind of goes into I feel like Godzilla 2014 did a great job of kind of making you feel small. Like, here are these ginormous titans, and the cinematography always had you looking up at the kaijus, to kind of give you that sense of mortality, I guess, and humility to it. But Kong Skull Island, thank you so much. 1973. Thank you, sir. I knew it was sometimes in the 70s. But Kong Skull Island does a great job of like really showing you the horrors of like Skull Island, of how like you do not want to be a person on that island at all, because you were a snack.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think that deterred me from seeing it, because I did see some clips, and it really felt like a horror movie more than anything. And is Tom Hiddleston in that movie?
He is, and so is Brie Larson. There's some big actors. Corey Hawkins is in it.
Luke is excited now.
I'm saying it as soon as possible.
Now we know. No, yeah, Tom is great in it too. That in terms of the MonsterVerse film, it's definitely a good one. Oh yeah, John C. Reilly's in it. He's
actually good at it.
The comedic aspect of it, but like he is actually a very welcoming piece of it, to kind of balance out
and he gets some love to Chicago for us.
And he loves Chicago, You are more beautiful than a beer and a hot dog on the opening day at Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
But you're here.
Go, go.
You already know. Yeah, John C. Reilly's actually a great part of that film.
Oh, and Jack Black is in this too, right?
That was the Peter Jackson one.
That's the 2005 Peter Jackson.
2005.
Anybody know where my jelly bean was? A jelly bean or Skittles?
No,
wait a minute. So the 2005 one, was it also called Godzilla, or
no? That was just King Kong.
Oh, just King Kong.
Yeah.
That's not required.
So that King Kong movie is a recreation of the 1933 King Kong movie.
Okay.
Yeah, they really went in depth on that one. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's like 3.5 hours long.
Scenes. Yeah,
Okay.
and I recommend watching the extended cut, because like what Peter Jackson did in that particular cut, I mean, just like what he did with the Lord of the Rings extended cut, he added scenes that Marion C. Cooper wanted to do back when the 1933 movie came out, but budget and not only that, just technology was not advanced yet. So when Marion C. Cooper wrote the book and like did all these notes to it, like Peter Jackson's like, well, I'm throwing it back in. We're actually going to do some of these scenes. And yeah, I could go on about the 2005 King Kong movie. I know a lot of that back history and how difficult it was for Peter Jackson to get that movie going.
But if you don't like bugs, don't watch that movie.
Oh,
yeah, if you don't like bugs,
don't watch that movie.
That was the particular scene that they removed from the original 1933 one that Peter Jackson's like,
They're
let's
down
throw
in
it
the
back in.
pit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate bugs, so
Yeah.
oh no.
Either have someone with you and they can fast forward through
Yeah.
it for you, or
Yes, it's
What
Andy
happens? What
Serkis.
happens? Just
You
look
know, it
away.
was Andy Serkis's first run at being an ape, you know, before he went on and do Planet of the Apes. But yeah, man, Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Corey, can you pull up the slide? Just some of the kaijus they've designed. Go to the next one, please. Like, of course, you got to have G-Man in there. I've heard G-Man shows up quite a bit, so that's nice. They even have a couple of scenes that, you know, reference the 2014 film, but also looks like you kind of see, as you saw from Godzilla 2014, his spikes are kind of not as developed yet, his dorsal fins. So you kind of start to see the progression of how he gets to the King of the Monsters level, which, like I said, hopefully they keep the Godzilla Awakenings comic, or sorry, not Awakenings, Aftershock canon, because if they do, that explains why Godzilla's dorsal fins change. And it's kind of a crazy moment in the comic that like caught a lot of people off guard, and it was pretty cool. But
I feel like
just
Godzilla has to be in it quite a bit, though. You know, like the other ones are cool.
he's
but
the
like,
draw, you know. It's, I mean, it's kind of like some of the, like when you go watch a sideshow like Smallville, you're like all waiting for Superman to, you know, be Superman for once. You
I
know,
just hope it's not they throw him in just to have him in. You know,
like
I
cameos will.
yeah, I want the reason for Godzilla to be there is because it's an actual threat. You know, I want his scenes to be impactful because, you know, obviously I want to watch it because of Godzilla, but I also really want to learn about Monarch. And so
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So
absolutely.
I hope
That's the
they
focus.
don't I
Oh.
hope they don't use Godzilla just for his name essentially, you know, and his appearance. I hope when Godzilla shows up, you're like, "Oh shit."
yeah.
Okay, so guys, can you explain to me about Monarch? Is this a corporation or a secret organization that's working on
Yeah.
kaiju and trying to use it for? Is it connected with the government or all?
Exactly that. So like when they started, so what happened is, and you learned this in Godzilla like 2014 and also eventually in Kong Skull Island, Monarch is a secret organization that was started by, I think, Harry Truman as the president. He creates that organization to investigate unidentified massive, you know, terrestrial organisms, the mutos and stuff like that. And one of the first ones they discover is Godzilla. And because they're frightened, they actually create use an atomic bomb to try to take him out. It fails. You know, and they find all these, basically their job is to locate, contain, and if possible, dispose of, you know, these titans, these kaijus, unless if you're Serizawa kind of went through the, like, you know, kind of the classic, like, Godzilla needs to be studied kind of thing. And, you know, he's the balance of nature, and he, you know, takes care of the earth, basically. He's Earth's guardian, is kind of how Serizawa looks at him. But yeah, the Monarch is a secret organization that we don't know too much about, but this show is probably going to give us an idea of some of the crazy things they've done. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. It'll be a fun show.
I'm definitely in.
Yeah. It looks good though.
Yeah.
November 17th can't come soon enough. I can't wait to like watch it, break down each episode, and hopefully talk about some of the hidden Easter eggs. And not only that, what I hope it does even more than expanding and kind of filling in some of the gaps between Godzilla 2014 and Godzilla King of the Monsters, I really hope that they don't shy away from the future of Godzilla. You know, like that it's not one of those scenes where maybe they don't bring it up in Godzilla King of the, you know, I mean, sorry, in Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. I hope there's something that references it, you know, kind of like what they messed up on with Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. You know, that's technically canon to the lore, but there's no reference to the kids that were stuck on that island for all those years in Jurassic World at all. So I don't know. I hope it's canon. Hope everything's connected. Well, it is canon. You know, it's the same universe. but I just hope they don't shy away that like, oh, this is a TV series, not the movie, you know.
Yeah.
That's my personal preference of it. But
Yeah, that they don't change things too much. They at least stick to the world, adhere to the lore and the continuity.
yeah, and it looks like you said, it looks like they will because Bill Randa is in it and he was in Kong Skull Island. So this is obviously a very major part. And maybe, I don't know, maybe they'll bring in some of the characters from King of the Monsters. Like maybe we'll see the mom. I'm totally spacing the mom's name, Vera Farmiga, who played the actress, and maybe Millie Bobby Brown, and maybe they'll bring in that British general or colonel that they didn't really explain too well in King of the Monsters, you know, to kind of explain why he's after the Titans and how he's getting them, how he's tactfully going after the kaijus to get their specimens, you know. There's opportunity that I think if the show succeeds and they continue on with the season 2, you know, there's a lot they could do with it to make each movie that much better by filling in some of the gaps that they left, you know, some of the plot holes, you know.
Yeah,
So what's exciting? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I really hope that it's a show that fills in the holes of the story, but also pushes the story forward. I hope by the end of the season we're wanting like foaming at the mouth for the movie to come out. So, but I'm stupid excited for it.
Yeah, I agree. It's just going to be more MonsterVerse content, right? Like, just give it all, and it looks good too, right? Like the CGI so far in the Corey. Can you go back to the one slide that showed all the monsters? Like they didn't slouch on this. This is not like Marvel with She-Hulk and like some of the other Marvel spin-off shows that they've done that have been like low budget and all that stuff. Like, this is quality right here. Like this looks good, and that's all I hope for, right? Quality over quantity. While they haven't had a Mothra spinoff, a Rodan spinoff, you know, or hell, whatever you want, a Muto spinoff. I don't care what you call it. The fact that they're doing it now, and it looks like they're taking the time. Apple TV is like doing it right. It looks like it, right? Like we haven't seen the show, I can't say, but CGI wise, it looks like they're not playing games. They're not shying away from it, you know? So we'll have to see how much kaijus are in this and how much Godzilla's in, because obviously the more CGI you use, the budget, you know, cranks up, but it looks good. It looks solid.
Well, here's one selling point is like usually Kurt Russell is not in a lot of like bad content. He you know, he's usually pretty. First of all, he's usually solid in everything he does, and then on top of that, like for him to be involved with this really is sort of making me think, oh, this must be good. He would not just take a crappy script, and so I'm kind of looking forward to it for that. Like, are they gonna, you know, is he going to be a part of this thing? And uphold the standards that we're used to seeing his work. His son being in it is another plus. It's like, you know, it's become a family affair. So kind of like, okay, so he must really believe in this. So yeah, I can't wait to see at least that. And you know, maybe I don't have the entire scope of everything that's going on, but at least I can try to pick up from where I'm at, and I'll leave it to the internet, and maybe you guys could help me explain the rest of it.
We got you.
In order to prepare us for that, Trey, do you think we just need to watch Godzilla 2014
or Skull Island?
Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island. Those are the two people absolutely need to watch. Just based off what I've seen from the trailers, they definitely reference, I mean, Bill Randa's in it, and it looks like he's on Skull Island. So that tells me they're definitely showing us a point in time when maybe Bill Randa snuck off and did his own thing in that movie. Because there was no other time Bill Randa goes to Skull Island other than when that movie, you know, takes place. Godzilla 2014, there's literally in the trailer a scene straight from San Francisco when they're on the bridge, and they kind of just show you the perspective of another character that happened to be on that bridge, in, you know, which took place in that movie. So for things to make sense, 2014 Godzilla and Kong Skull Island. I think if you just watch those, you'll be fine. You don't need to read the comics. I don't think they're expecting any, just general audience members to know what's going on the comic realm. And oftentimes, as we've seen with Star Wars, they never really address the comics, right? Like it's kind of just the fun little one-off. Like even Wonder Woman 1984, when I read the prequel comic, addressed nothing in the movie, so it's the comics are just kind of the one-off. So you don't need to bother with that. Just Godzilla 2014, Kong Skull Island. You should be fine.
Okay. Also, can you tell me what the monster is with the squiggly face? Which one? What
We
monster
don't know.
that
That's
is?
something
Yeah,
Legendary has
yeah.
created, which, like
Okay.
you said, we talked about earlier. They're probably going to create a lot of their own. I don't expect to see any classic Toho monsters. I mean, you might hear reference just because King of the Monsters is next, and at some point Monarch started making outposts containing thghese creatures. You might hear something about the Mothra larva. You might hear about Rodan's volcano containment, King Ghidorah, or maybe Monster Zero, as they call it. You might hear some reference of that, but like if there is, it's probably just a little tip of the hat to Kaiju fans,
Mm. I think at this point they probably must have something to just those things exist, right? And so they must at least adjust them.
They could, yeah. There was definitely Michael Dougherty had a ton more different Titans that appear in King of the Monsters that weren't Toho creatures as well. So I mean, they could even reference some of the behemoths that they find, or some of the other kaiju's. But it'll be interesting to see how they approach it. But I would say if you're a Godzilla fan waiting to see Anguirus show up, or like Megalon show up or something like that, you're probably not going to get that. Just in terms of budget, they've already spent a ton on the CGI, the licensing to do it.
And probably they're paying the Russells a lot of money.
Probably, I would imagine they were not cheap.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you do see a Toho kaiju other than Godzilla or the ones we see in King of the Monsters, a blessing. That's how I
Takes
look
money
at
to
it.
make money, big fella.
Yeah.
This is gonna come in hot, I feel like.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
like possibly if this is really successful, they might be like, "Hey, let's do it." But maybe in the beginning they're just dipping their toes in there and like, okay, well you can mention it, but you can't. Here's a picture.
Yeah, and kind of the cool thing is they do have a lot of time to play with. Like I don't know exactly when this takes place after Godzilla 2014. Like it's definitely a direct sequel, and we're seeing different time loops of some things take place in the past, some things take place in whatever present it is, some things take place in 2014 time frame. But I would like to see. Technically, I believe there's 5 years that take place between Godzilla 2014 and Godzilla's 2019 film. In terms of like the actual timeline in the Monsterverse, I think each film has basically been like Godzilla 2014. 5 years later is when Godzilla King of the Monsters takes place, and I think again Godzilla versus Kong takes place like 5 years later in the Monsterverse timeline. So it's they have time to play with if they want to fill in some of the gaps if they choose to. If the show is successful, which I would say, if you're a Godzilla fan, if you want more, like this is a crazy time. Like there's this thing called superhero fatigue right now. At some point, Godzilla and Kong are not going to be the pop culture like kings that they are right now, right? Like they're not going to be bringing in this box office draw. And at some point, the studio is going to say, "Cool, we've had our run. Let's end it." Enjoy it, support it. I'm not saying if it's trash to be like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest scene since sliced bread." Make your voices heard, but like, enjoy it. Like, we're getting all this content. Like this is
damn
awesome.
good time to be a Godzilla fan.
Damn good time to be a Godzilla fan. And like, think about it, guys. It's 2 hours, and we're still not done talking about all the craziness that has come from Godzilla. Corey, go ahead and go to the next slide. Godzilla, the New Empire. Godzilla Kong, the New Empire. See, sorry, Kong fans. I forget you guys. Just kidding.
Awaken the Kong.
What is this?
This is the brand new film. This is the next film coming out for Godzilla. This one takes place after Godzilla versus Kong. This is the next film installment in the MonsterVerse. Godzilla
Ooh.
and Kong are once again going to show up, and this teaser trailer that came out a couple months ago, it caught everyone by surprise. They weren't expecting anything, and it showed this creature, this ape-like creature, on top of this throne in front of a Godzilla skull and Kong skull, which tells us whoever this big bad is, he's going to mess everybody up. You know, he's going to impose a true threat to Godzilla and Kong. And the cool part is they did a little, and Orc and Beans, you might know this, being my gamer man, Call of Duty Warzone actually did a Godzilla versus Kong like spin-off, a little theme, where Godzilla and Kong actually showed up and fought while you were going out shooting people, and they left little Easter eggs.
I wish I played that.
I got to play it one night, and I was so bummed because I think Sarah and I went on vacation that week, and I wasn't near an Xbox, but I was able to like show up for like the last few hours that it played. And I wish they would bring it back. Please bring it back, Call of Duty Warzone, please. This creature in the bottom left that you're seeing, this little cave drawing,
Okay.
is apparently going to show up in Godzilla X Kong, but they're keeping it secret.
Oh.
The only time you've heard reference about it was in the game. So it's very cool that just willy-nilly, let's just place this here just to expand the lore and maybe get people talking. What is this thing? Apparently this, I think they're calling it Shimu, something like that, is like this frozen kaiju. Like it has cold abilities, basically, ice abilities, which would be interesting against Godzilla.
Yeah, that's, opposites.
Yeah. So I don't know. The fact that this little teaser trailer that really gave us nothing got the internet pumping of like, holy hell, what's going on? Like, what is Godzilla and Kong going to be doing? Nonetheless, I'm excited. I am a little nervous in one piece just because it's Adam Wingard, and I've already expressed my concerns with Adam Wingard continuing the Godzilla MonsterVerse just because of things he's said in interviews, like where he says, I would love to do a movie where humans don't even have a role and just have it between the kaijus, the titans. To me, like, if there's one thing that is prominent in all Godzilla films, is the human element and story. They have to be there because otherwise it doesn't really affect us. It doesn't address us. So if you don't have a good human story, then Godzilla and Kong are kind of pointless.
That seems kind of like Walking Dead, where like, yes, there's the zombie element, but the interaction, the crisis, the trouble and drama amongst the humans is what really connects us, right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's what creates the suspense, right? The tension. Like if we're going to be destroyed by the destruction of these titans and their war, then we need to be involved. We need to have a stand. It's kind of like King of the Monsters, right? Like, yes, that story could have been fleshed out a little bit more with the humans, but like the fact that you had people try to take down the Titans when there was no hope that they would have any chance at taking down the Titans, it still shows that empower of sacrifice, trying to just, in the face of, in the valley of the shadow of darkness of death, I will fear no evil. That kind of thing that just like drives it home a little bit and gives you a place where you're like, okay, I'm in this with them. But if you just have it, Kong is just doing sign language to Godzilla and Godzilla's just like, I don't speak sign language, then like it doesn't work.
Can I get an interpretation, please?
Right? Like God's just like, what does this mean? Home? I don't know. But I am super excited for Godzilla Kong, the new empire. There's a lot of mystery surrounding it. I'm trying to avoid spoilers, but apparently after the multiple screen testings they've done, people are saying it's really good. Definitely action-packed and fun. So it's going to be probably a little bit more of what Godzilla versus Kong was, which is why I'm nervous, because I didn't particularly like that film just in terms of story. Like I said, action, some of the best action I've ever seen in a Godzilla film. So absolutely, the action is gonna be wonderful. The mystery behind this film, I hope the story does it justice. You know, do you guys plan on seeing Godzilla Kong: The New Empire? You feeling it?
No.
Far?
I'm 100% kidding. Of course I'm going to see that movie. I'm out here trying to see big ass kaiju slapping meat. I want to see them fight. That's what I'm trying to see.
Pork and Beans is like Sarah Zhao going like, let them fight. Like, you just want to see monsters fight. Shut up. Let them fight.
Them fight. That's what I'm trying to see.
I like it. I like it. Let them fight.
I guess there could be humans in it, but for the most part, just throwing bodies around.
It's for me. Retro.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I'll have to wait to see, what you guys say. I mean, I probably won't be able to go to the movies to see it, but as soon as it's available on a streaming, I could probably catch it.
Yeah, I know you're in kind of a weird spot where some of the theaters not close by.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, I think it looks interesting. I don't know what to expect, so I'm sure once it comes out and everybody's talking about it, we'll get a better idea of how good it is. I definitely want to hear your guys's points on it, because I'll know if it's really good or not.
I appreciate it. She has a lot of faith in that story. That's it. It's gonna be tough. We gotta hold that down.
Yeah, and damn right that I'm going to be supporting my boy Kong, whipping up on some apes or whatever. Maybe slap Godzilla around a little bit as well.
As long as they don't do a thing where like Kong's like, or this Emperor Kong is like, I am your father.
Kong might have to put Godzilla in his place. Like, hey, yo, I'm running this. I look at me. I'm the captain. So
Kong is just going to be king of Hollow Earth. Godzilla's king of the Earth. Just
yeah,
but no, it should be good.
I'm really curious about this creature, that's ice creature. And I definitely want to see the battle, ice versus fire. Like, fire versus ice. So
yeah,
I want to see that.
It'll be interesting to see. I have a lot of theories about, like, I think it's a new kaiju. Some people are like, oh, it's Space Godzilla. I don't think it's Space Godzilla. I don't think, I think
say that again. A new kaiju?
I think it's a new kaiju. What? I just don't think they're gonna do another. I think they're gonna try to create a little bit of their own thing. You might see references once again of a Toho creature. You might see Mothra or Rodan pop back up at some point. Who knows? But like, I think this is its own thing. It's new Titan, formidable alpha that's going to try to claim its throne a bit. I have some theories about Emperor Kong, or this Oranga Kong that people are calling him. I think he has the ability to mind control creatures. So we may see Godzilla and Kong throw down again. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I don't know.
Though, like, isn't there like with animals, there's typically a hierarchy as well, so like maybe Kong, like it's like, oh crap, he's the alpha, and I'm going to follow him now.
It would be interesting to see, but I think they kind of answered that in Godzilla versus Kong, where they were kind of like, Godzilla is technically the alpha, no one takes him down, and Kong was kind of like, screw you, buddy, I don't listen to anybody. Even when King Ghidorah became alpha, Kong kind of said, screw you, I don't listen to you. So I think Kong is intelligent and independent of mind enough, and so is Godzilla. Clearly, they're just two alpha species that decide for themselves, and whether they're the alpha or they'll die before they're not the alpha. Essentially, which could be interesting. Maybe that's how they do it. Maybe they kill off one of the kaijus, and they lead into. There was a lot of rumors that they were going to do the next sequel was going to be Son of Kong. Maybe that's where it's leading to. To a Son of Kong, because older Kong is gone, or maybe Godzilla finally gets Manila, a very much cooler version of Manila. So who knows? Stop motion noob says Shimu is new. Yep, that's what I've heard too. Yeah, Shimu seems new. I don't think it's going to be a I don't think it's misdirection to be a reveal of some Toho monster that we haven't seen. What's up, Law? Too good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well, man. Now let's. Am I still here? I saw my connection drop.
Just
Okay.
came back.
Let's talk about the movie that's having everyone go a little crazy.
Oh, just before you get to that, I was going to ask you, when does that come out and how does it come out, that movie that we were just talking about?
Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire.
Mm-hmm.
It comes out in March. For some reason I want to say March 24th. I might be off. It's either March or April it comes out, because I know they recently pushed back the dates. It was supposed to come out sooner in Q3, but I think
it has been delayed to April 12th, 2024.
April 12th.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. I think that was like due to the writer strikes and actor strikes too.
Yeah.
That they pushed it back a little bit. But April, I'm there. It's happening. We're going to do it. It's going to be a great time. But, Toho's keeping us company. We don't have to wait so long for good Godzilla content. We got Godzilla Minus One. Toho coming back.
Yeah.
So Toho is obviously the owners of the IP of Godzilla. Even though they've licensed it out to Legendary and Apple TV and Warner Brothers, they still have the option to make their own Godzilla content that is not connected in any way. So Toho is bringing out this Godzilla Minus One that is already playing in Japan, and word is breaking out, and I'm not going to spoil anything because I've been avoiding spoilers too, but the only thing I have been paying attention to is what people are saying. And from what I'm hearing is people are saying it's a masterpiece.
That's what I've heard too. I've heard it's really good, because Big Action Bill does a spoiler-free review, and I'm not even going to watch that. I know he says it's spoiler-free. I don't want to hear anything, but based off his title, he's basically Godzilla is back, and I have heard that it is a very good Godzilla movie.
Yeah. I hear they do, and like I said, I'm going to try to avoid directing you guys on what to expect. All I've just heard is that it does exactly what you've wanted a Godzilla film to do for a very long time, which tells me,
wow,
we've seen Godzilla be the defender recently, the defender of Earth. I think we're obviously, based on the trailers, Godzilla is a menace. He's the force of nature. He is the punishment to Japan and America, to, you've created me into this thing. And I just can't wait to see that. The director seems to be a really big Godzilla fan. He's even pulling some of the things that made the 2014 Godzilla great. He actually did a interview with Gareth Edwards, who directed the 2014 Godzilla film. They both kind of sat down and talked about what they enjoyed about each other's films, and both kind of just had a self-respect for each other. And you can clearly see the influence of the 2014 film with kind of the secrets, the Monarch, element to it. There is no Monarch in this, but like it kind of has that same vibe of that. There's something going on. There's something lurking that we've known about, that we've kind of kept secret, and now it's about to blow up in our face. And here there is Godzilla, this thing that's going to terrorize Japan and just be this incredible, insane force of nature. I'm cannot tell. I heard people have cried throughout the film. Not cried throughout the film, but they say there's a part at the end people were crying. So it's going to be emotionally impactful. I think it's going to hit home for a lot of people that understand where Godzilla comes from. So I would say, Retro and Corey, if you really want to have a good grasp of what Godzilla is and like what this film is going to mean, I think you need to watch the original Godzilla. I think if you watch the 1954 one and kind of see the origin, the source of what it's meant to Japan and the people there, this film is going to make more sense. It's not going to catch you off guard, but unless if you want to be caught off guard and kind of have zero expectations of what that is, it could be interesting. They're doing a lot of things just from the trailers I've seen that I haven't seen Godzilla quite be utilized that way, but it makes sense that Godzilla does it that way. You
can just tell that this movie hits differently. And me not even being like a vast Godzilla movie fan, you know, I've seen like the recent ones. Really, that's the biggest ones, but you know, just the vibes that it gives, it's completely different. The logo just looks fierce. I love how they have the G kind of look like them with the tail and everything like that. Like I am very excited for this one. This one literally is the trailers hyping up Godzilla Minus One is what's actually have me interested, you know, in Godzilla for really the first time ever. Like I like the other Godzilla movies, the recent ones, but this one has me like hyped up for like all things Godzilla now. And just by them doing that, they've you know won a new market, won half the battle right there.
Yeah, and I think they're handling in a great way. Just the director Takashi Yamazaki, I think his name is. He's no stranger to Godzilla. He did a film, and I'm totally spacing the name. It's like Sunlight something or Daylight something like that. And there's a scene. It's a dream sequence. Has nothing to do with Godzilla, but there's a dream sequence where it shows a World War II destroyed Tokyo, and Godzilla is there as a nightmare for a kid. So just showing the pop culture element and the fear that Godzilla creates, right? It just what he represents. Stop Motion Noob says, I like how Godzilla from Minus One looked. Reminds me of Heisei Goji. Oh yeah, definitely the 90s style, right? And he Yamazaki kind of continues the design that he used, kind of the first I guess you could say the first entry that he did. He actually made the Godzilla ride in Japan for Toho.
There's a Godzilla ride?
There is a Godzilla ride, dude. It's kind of what it reminds me of. Is kind of like it kind of reminds me of like Back to the Future or like Spider-Man from Universal Studios.
No way. That's so awesome. So you virtually rode the ride?
I took a look at it. I wanted, when I heard this guy who I've never seen him do a Godzilla thing or, you know, a movie, he had no help in the Shin Godzilla film. I was kind of like, well, who is he? So I did some research and I saw it and I was like, that ride, the story he created just visually, like this, we're in good hands with this guy. Good hands with him. Always Sunset on the 3rd Street too. Thank you. See, you know your stuff, my man. Thank you. Yeah, Yamazaki did the Godzilla rides. He's using a similar design that he did in that ride for this Godzilla, but he's tweaked it a bit, and I love it. I think it just Godzilla's back to that terrifying force of nature, punishment on mankind for creating him. And one thing that I really loved that Shin Godzilla especially kind of emphasized was like how Godzilla's hurting. You know, he's this freak of nature, and his body is unnatural. It's developing, right? Like, and he's just constantly in pain, you know, which is kind of, it's in a weird way, like you almost feel sad for Godzilla in Shin Godzilla, because like, it's not like he's trying to be this force of destruction, right? Like, it's like almost he can't help it, you know, and you kind of feel bad from that standpoint. But there is also that element of punishing, you know, his creation. It's like really no different than the Frankenstein story, right? Like the monster hates his creator. And it's this film just looks like it's going to hit on a serious level, a gritty level. Godzilla's going to be a force to be reckoned with, a menace, and terrifying, just bringing in that terrifying element that is what Godzilla comes from. And I think especially that it's going to take place, I think it takes place in 1948 or 1949. Does that sound right? I want to say it was late 40s.
Yes, it does sound right.
Well, obviously, you know, the World War II ended in 1945, so...
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was like in... I didn't... It definitely isn't 1954. They're not like playing into like, oh, it's a remake. It's not a remake. of the original Godzilla film. It's its own take, its own thing. I mean, I guess you could say it's an origin story of Godzilla in essence, his first interaction, attacking Tokyo. So yeah, you could say it's a remake, but it's you're not going to see Raymond Burr show up. You're not going to, sorry, not Raymond Burr, Steve Martin's character show up. It's nothing like that. Daniel 8417 says, "Let me ask y'all something. Which one will be the better movie, Godzilla Minus One or Godzilla Kong?"
-1.
I think -1 too.
Yeah. So what
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the most is -1, but I am looking for Godzilla X Kong.
Yeah.
Yeah, -1 really is like I just watched the trailer. It looks so good. It looks so good. Like they're taking it seriously. It doesn't look like any fun and games anymore. There's no man in the suit anymore. There's no miniatures, This is serious stuff. Definitely looks more like a Independence Day kind of thing. Devastation, people like it's when you say, some people had mentioned crying in the chat, it looks like it because they really are dealing with a massive destruction, and when you say that that Godzilla is in pain, there's like a bit of the trailer where I'm like, oh yeah, look at that, and it's very much visually it's stunning. Like this is something is very beautiful. And looks a lot like, something Zack Snyder would put together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like this. It looks like they're taking it very seriously. This is not fun and games anymore. It's not no goofiness at all. This is definitely serious. It looks like it's definitely dealing with that annihilation or the physical destruction of cities and how people are reacting to it. A very big emphasis on that. I think that's probably, I mean, you never know, this could win an Oscar.
Right? They just got nuked, and then now Godzilla shows up to wreck their lives. Like, wow.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to. I did read a comment from Kaiju Crazy Craig Rollin, I think, that it might be a little political. Just prepare yourselves. It probably will be, in the sense of like how, just like Shin Godzilla kind of having a political statement that I don't know if people would say, like, for Americans who are very sensitive to those types of things, and I think it just will address maybe fictional, as weird as it sounds, like fictional truth, like something that we could expect of the reaction of how we would handle things as Americans and how Japan would handle things. I mean, when you look at it, this is a very interesting time. And this is why I really am excited for this in terms of the period piece that it is because oftentimes we see Godzilla in a present day form, right? Like 1954 was a present day when it came out. All the films have kind of taken place in a present day, like this is how we would treat things. And with this film, it's going to kind of go back into that weird time where America just obliterated Japan practically and won World War II. And now we're in this weird state of how much do we care about Japan? We've been attacked in Pearl Harbor, and that tragedy that happened.
Well, that's exactly right, Trey. And that's kind of one of the things that, piques my curiosity. Gianmarco said that this is 1945 to 1947. Yes, we had just got done nuking them, but we became allies with Japan in like the early 1950s. So seeing, maybe this is what causes that, allegiance, that alliance together to become friends to fight a greater, enemy is what kind of really piqued my curiosity of that how their intentions were like, oh, you just killed a bunch of us, to all of a sudden, oh, we need to come together now.
Yeah, and to kind of build on that, Corey, it also could be in that kind of that time frame where, like, after after World War II, after victory over Japan, we basically told them you don't have a military anymore. Like, you don't get to have that back. We kind of became their protectors. Do we leave them hanging? In this fictional world where there's a Godzilla, do we say you're on your own, Japan? It could be a very interesting dialogue to where we'll see how they take it. But I think no matter what, it's going to be a very intriguing discussion that this movie will set. Just like what a worst possible time to have something like Godzilla come to your city, right? Like when you have no means to defend yourself, which is why -1. They're already obliterated. They're already zero. And now you have something that's going to take you back even further.
I was just thinking about it. So are they saying maybe they'll thinking that maybe that the nuclear attacks is what created Godzilla? Because in the clip that I also just saw, he just sort of shows up out of nowhere, scares everybody, but then they attack him, and he goes up on like another, he upgrades. So it maybe they're saying that that Godzilla is a product of the nuclear blast. That might be the case, and there is an army in the trailer, that Japanese army. So that's really interesting. I'm curious. It's making me curious.
Yeah,
So it acts as a historical piece along with fantasy.
That's how I'm going to pitch it to my wife.
It's
a historical piece.
Hey, let's go see a history movie.
Let's go see a history movie. It's great. World War II.
I'm sure what Rachel just said to that.
She's staring at me over there.
No matter what, I think, and you brought up something it's fun watching you, Retro, and Corey as well, who are kind of new to the Godzilla, lore and origins and getting into this fandom. 1954 will give you a good idea of explaining Godzilla's origins. It doesn't like flat out say this is exactly what happened, but evidence suggests it is it is something that is man-made. So I'm excited. It's this great thing that Orc and I get to kind of watch and see you guys experience it. All of the things that we got and see what your take is on it. And this is why I've always really enjoyed Godzilla, even as a kid. Like, yes, it's a giant dinosaur breaking through the city, destroying things, and he protects us sometimes, but sometimes he's the bad guy. But even as a kid, I remember watching the first Godzilla movie and being taken back by the emotion behind it, the tone of like what Godzilla meant to people. And what he meant to Japan in that original film. And it has stuck with me since that, like, this could be a very good discussion, just like he was back then,
Oh, yeah. And here's the other thing. It may not even be man-made. It may be just that the bombs, disrupted something in the area and opened up something that allowed him to come through. Like, some underwater disturbance. There's so many ways that they could go about this. So I'm curious as to.
I can't wait for you to watch the first movie.
All of that, yeah.
You're gonna go, aha! I was.
We need to figure out a watch party soon for 1954 Godzilla.
Sorry, go ahead. Or
I want to. King Donkey Kong just said, "Is it December 1st yet?" So we get the movie December 1st, but the movie's already out. So I was looking at tickets. I found a theater near me that is showing the movie on the 29th. as an
They are
Ooh, I
doing
gotta
an
go.
early fan
So
release. Yeah.
please, if you're really excited about this movie, keep looking at all dates around December 1st, because you might find a theater near you that is doing an early access or an early showing, because like I said, they're doing an early access only on Wednesday the 29th.
Yeah.
So definitely take a look at a bunch of your theaters and see if any of them are doing early accesses.
And Toho's going all out on this one too. It's going to be in 40x. It's going to be in Dolby. Apparently, it's going to be in IMAX. They are putting it in the biggest screens possible. So, which tells me the director made it for that type of format, for that type of viewing. So, I mean, they didn't do that with Shin Godzilla for us when it came out in 2016.
I might have to come down and see it with you, Trey.
You might have to, but well, actually, no. Here's you want to know the shitty part, Corey? You can come down and see me, but it'll be like Saturday or Sunday because Sarah and I will be in Arizona for a wedding. So I've already talked to her. So I was like, the wedding is on December 1st. So I was like,
you're not watching the movie, are you, on a wedding? You are.
I was gonna see if I could go for an early show.
My man.
But then I heard they're doing the early access, the early fan screening on the 29th. So that might help me out if I can find a theater in Arizona that plays
Bro,
it.
just wear the suit to the movie, man. Go all out, buddy.
It might happen. I told my wife that as much as I love our family that's getting married, and I wish the best for you guys. I do love you both. It's Godzilla. You'll understand.
Otherwise, you could just tell Wonder Wife, Trey, that reservation, that she said that there's going to be at least 2 people at the wedding. Now she said, just tell her it might be -1.
-1. Drop the mic.
Nice, very nice, Gray.
Yeah,
You've been
nice,
hot
yeah.
with easy comments today. So, guys, Godzilla Minus One. I honestly think maybe it'll be like Shin Godzilla, where people have kind of mixed reactions to it, but I think a lot of people still really like it for how different it was. I think this film has the potential to be absolutely incredible, and not only that, like, once again, go out and support this film. Do not wait for the English dub version. Go out, see the Japanese, English subtitles in theaters. Go support it, and hopefully, I'm hoping it looks good. I don't think it's going to be bad. I honestly, knock on wood, do not think this movie is going to be bad. Everything I'm seeing tells me this is going to be the closest thing in a long time to the original Godzilla, and it's not a remake. So that it's a fresh take, obviously, because of the time period it's taking in with 1945 to 1947. Like, that's it's an unusual time and an interesting statement to be made with something like Godzilla. So find your local theater, go watch it, go support it. Take your friends with you. If they don't like Godzilla films, tell them you're taking to a historical, like, Oppenheimer film.
Yes, it's the Oppenheimer Part 2.
Yeah.
Oh man! Yeah. Could you imagine if they gave us Oppenheimer type nuke right at the beginning, and then all of a sudden Godzilla shows up?
In a way, right? Like,
Japan Strikes Back
to Oppenheimer, right? Like, that's the cool part. That's. Yeah. You literally could say Oppenheimer was the prequel to Godzilla. So it's an exciting time to be a Godzilla fan. There's so much: Godzilla Minus One, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, all the things that Toho just did for G-Fest. I'm sure if this is just Godzilla's 69th birthday, I can only imagine what they got planned for the 70th anniversary for us. Go support Godzilla. There's no better time to be a Godzilla fan than right now. I remember Corey, for God's sakes, if Corey telling me that he's excited to see a Godzilla movie is weird to me.
Like, I'm all in on Godzilla after seeing Godzilla Minus One, big fellow.
Yeah. And guys, we are going to start wrapping this up. So if any of you have like any last minute like questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the chat. But I just want to
thank everybody so much for watching. Make sure you are also liking, sharing, subscribing to the channel. We really appreciate y'all.
We do so much. And we honestly, once again, we always say like, oh, Corey, it's giving me an hour to a 90-minute show, and it ends up being a 3-hour show because we have such wonderful discussions with you guys. And we just want to thank you so much for hanging out with us and talking about the things that make us passionate. I know the world is crazy. Things are absolutely nuts out there, especially now. But like we could talk about the things that make us happy, or entertained. And this for me is one of them. Being a big Batman, Godzilla, Jurassic Park, Star Wars fan. This is I like truly couldn't imagine like how crazy this is. I'm a YouTuber talking about Godzilla and people are watching. I don't know if I would have, if young Trey at 8 years old watching a Godzilla movie would have said that would ever be the thing that would be cool to be a Godzilla fan, and it is. So anyways, guys, just to go around the panel, first off, thank you guys so much for being here, but tell us what do you got going on in your lives on your channel? Just give us a little rundown. Retro Nerd Girl, what you got going
on? Tomorrow I have a watch party. Let's see, which one is it? It is gonna be Nightmare Before Christmas tomorrow on my channel. And on Wednesdays I do a modern take on something modern. So I will be looking at the Loki show. I'm loving it. It's like I'm enjoying it so much. So I'll be talking about that and other things that are happening in entertainment news. Next Friday, a week from today, we'll be doing Feel Good for movies. It'll be the 3rd edition. We had a fantastic show today and also last week. So that's what's on the plate. A new movie review is coming out very soon, within the next 2 weeks. And also for members, every Monday, I do have a special video for all my members on Mondays. And that's it.
I'm so sad I missed your Interstellar watch party live. I watched it on the replay, but I was like,
it was no. Well, I didn't have it wasn't actually a watch party though. It was just a review because that's what I'm doing for the members. Just a quick like assessment of what the thing is that I'm doing, but also it's like a new movie I've never seen before.
Yeah, I do like that series.
Yeah, because it's like I have a long list of movies that people have told me to watch, and I'm like, okay, when am I going to watch this movie? Well, hey, why not do it for the members? So that's something I'm enjoying right now.
Awesome. Retro, it's always a pleasure having you. I was so glad you were able to join us tonight, and I've missed hanging out with you on these live streams, and it just seriously, guys, one of my favorites of all time.
I miss you guys so much. Yeah, that was hard. I was like, where are my friends?
Oh my gosh, guys, please subscribe to the Retro Nerd Girl. Just do it. She's almost at 8K, I think.
Where am I up to?
I think you're almost at 8K, aren't you?
No, I wish. But I am close to 7. I am close to 7.
Close to 7. Okay, I knew it's 7 or 8, and I was like, guys, let's get her to 10K.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
you. Thanks for inviting me tonight as well. I love this. This was a great learning experience.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Retro. My man, Orkin Baines.
I'm up to nothing. I ain't doing nothing. Huh?
I'm still plugging it.
I haven't streamed in a little while, but I will say the itch is coming back. So I might start streaming up again. I've had a really nice break, but I think I'm gonna start coming back. Just haven't figured out what I want to play. But if you want to keep up with me and my updates, follow me on Twitter. It's OrkinBeans14. Same as my Twitch and stuff, because I can do branding better than Trey. Yeah, and so that's where I post if I'm going to stream, when I'm going to stream, or when I complain about soccer. So if you like either of those things, feel free to follow me on Twitter. So, But I will start the Twitch upstream again shortly soon.
Nice. Guys, working beans. The Orcord. I'm loving this Unleash the Orcord. It's time. It's time for the return. The king must return back home to Twitch to entertain us all with all the gaming streams. I miss it. We gotta do our Battlefront streams too. All the good times. Oh, look at that. You already rocking the hat too. Or man, see, he come out, he's like, look, I got merch, I'm cool. The Bat Channel's not punk. Oh, you even got the pants. Hurtful. Well, guys, I do promise there's some big reveals coming soon for the Bat Channel that Corey and I are working on. So stay tuned. It's going to be this next year. Season 4 of the Bat Channel is going to be probably the craziest thing we've done yet. Yeah, it's going to be a whole new thing, whole new level of the Bat Channel. We're evolving to a burning Godzilla level of awesomeness. So,
oh, good.
You know what to do. Smash that like, share this video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Guys, Godzilla Day, 69 years.
Yay!
The Big G Man, and next year 70, and they already got the logo ready for us. Corey, can you show it? The logo for Godzilla 70.
I don't think you're pumping up enough, Trey. Godzilla Day 69. Whoa!
69.
Let's go.
Post that with the Billy
Godzilla Minus One. What? Bang! Here's Godzilla Sony. Pow!
We transitioned from
nice.
69 to 70 years of Godzilla. Holy cow! Our old man is almost 100 years. Oof! Insane. Insane, man. When when Godzilla turns 100, that's when I'll start to be like, shoot. It's we're old. Hopefully we're still doing this.
Godzilla was only 69.
69. Guys,
not old, just wise.
I'm glad that I hopped into Godzilla when it was the year 69. Like that's I will always remember that I was a fan the year of Godzilla turned 69.
Yeah, great year.
When did you become a Godzilla fan, Trey? That was
I was born. I just came out like destroying the hospital, and they're like, "What is this kid's problem?" And I was like,
oh, by the way, before we leave, one thing that was always iconic about Godzilla was the song.
Which one? There's like.
It's the one that I always associate with. I guess maybe dun 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 dun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You also got the Blue Oyster Cult Godzilla song, which I'm so glad Bear McCreary brought back for King of the Monsters, which is also why I loved that movie. Guys,
go Godzilla.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us on our Monarch Monstar streams. We are going to be doing these very soon, every Saturday for Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and eventually December 1st with Godzilla Minus One. Get your tickets. Support Godzilla. Guys, we love you. Thank you so much. I am your host, Trey, with Orkin Beans and Retro Nerd Girl and the Super Bro Corey. And don't forget to tune in weekly.
Same bat time.
Same bat channel. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Please end it.